version of the bill. As you can see on your screens, we are still expecting members of the Senate to make their way into the chambers. A quorum of 15 members is expected so that the sitting can commence. And as we will wait for the quorum to be achieved, as you can see on your screens, I think we have achieved the quorum. Enjoy your viewing.
We do have quorum now, I'm told, so we will proceed with the day's business. Clerk, kindly call the first order.
Order number 1, administration of oath. Order number 2, communication from the chair. Order number 3, messages. Order number 4, petitions. Order number 5, papers. Order number 6, notices of motion. Order number 7, questions and statements.
Now, request for statements pursuant to Standing Order 53-1. Senator for Mombasa County, the Honorable Mohamed Munyahaji Faki. That statement is dropped. Senator for Trans Nzoia County, the Honorable Alan Chesang. That statement is deferred. Senator for Samburu County, the Honorable Dr. Lelegwe. That statement is dropped. Senator for Samburu County again, Dr. Lelegwe. Equally, that statement is dropped. Senator for Murang'a County, the Honorable John Nyutu. That statement is dropped. Next order. Okay. Now, honorable members, allow me, pursuant to Standing Order 45, to rearrange today's order paper. We will move to order number 25. Clerk, you may proceed to call that order. Now, honorable senators, we will start with order number 23. Clerk, proceed to call that order.
Order number 23, motion. Consideration of the report of the Mediation Committee on the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly Bills number 21 of 2023.
The chairperson, co-chair, Mediation Committee, to move the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move this motion, Honorable Speaker, of this report, that the Senate adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Food and Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly Bill number 21 of 2023, laid on the table of the Senate on Tuesday, 28 April 2026, and that pursuant to Standing Order 1132 of the Constitution and Standing Order 1673 of the Senate approves the amended version of the bill, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, this report contains the proceedings of the Mediation Committee on the Food and Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly 21 of 2023. The National Assembly considered the bill, passed it with amendments on 23rd August 2023. It subsequently transmitted its amendments to the Senate for consideration. The Senate considered and passed the bill with amendments on Thursday, 21st March 2024, and transmitted the amendments to the National Assembly seeking concurrence on 25th March 2024. The National Assembly approved the motion on the report of the Committee of the Whole House on the consideration of the Senate proceedings to the Food and Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly number 21 of 2023, on 18th October 2024. The committee rejected some of the Senate amendments to the bill, warranting committal of the bill to the Mediation Committee pursuant to Article 112 2B of the Constitution. The Speaker of the National Assembly appointed members to the Mediation Committee on 22nd July 2025 as required by Standing Order 1492 of the National Assembly Standing Orders, while the Speaker of the Senate appointed senators to the committee on 20th May 2025 under provisions of Standing Order 1162 of the Senate Standing Orders. The committee held one meeting to consider clauses of the bill that were under mediation and subsequently developed an agreed version of the bill in the meeting. It thereafter adopted this report in the same sitting. The committee is grateful to the Office of the Speaker, Speakers and Clerks of both Houses of Parliament for the logistical and technical support accorded to it in the execution of its mandate. Finally, we express our appreciation to members of the committee and the committee secretariat for their patience, sacrifice, endurance, and commitment to the assignment which enabled the committee to complete the task within the stipulated period. It is now a pleasant privilege and honor to commend this report to the Houses for approval on behalf of the Mediation Committee pursuant to Standing Order 1132 of the Constitution, Standing Order 1501 of the National Assembly Standing Orders, and Standing Order 1611 of the Senate Standing Order. Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Yes, thank you. Honorable Speaker, as I've just taken members through, this bill has been a thorn in the flesh of this House and the government at large. The stakeholders gave in their best for us to understand what the bill talks about value chains, about storage, about how Kenyans can benefit from this bill. And therefore, I want to request honorable members, as we proceed to to adopt this motion. This bill is going to turn tables in line with the government's agenda of bottom-up to ensure the aggregation parks are valid and running, and ensure we open up the market, the international market, for our people and business people. So this bill is a vision that its time has come for Kenyans to really harvest and enjoy the fruits of this country. Honorable Speaker, I want to stop at that and request my good sister, who was a member of the bill, a member of the mediation committee, the Honorable Member Beatrice Ogola, to second. Thank you.
Honorable Speaker, as I second the mediation bill that has been presented by none other than the Chair of Agriculture, I want to remind all of us that agriculture is key to this republic. Honorable Speaker, through agriculture, we are able to get food security, and Honorable Speaker, with food, then we become not only a productive country, but a healthy country. Honorable Speaker, I second.
Honorable Senators, I will now propose the question that the Senate adopts the report of the Mediation Committee on the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly Bills number 21 of 2023, laid on the table of the Senate on Tuesday, 28th of April 2026, and that pursuant to Article 113(2) of the Constitution and Standing Order 167(3) of the Senate, approves the mediated version of the bill. Now the floor is open for debate. Honorable Senator Manzo. The Honorable Senator Fernandez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. As I support this mediated version of the bill, I want to congratulate the Chair of Agriculture and the Chief Whip of the House. I don't know why whenever we go for mediated version of our bill, senators always become the Vice Chair. I saw even in the mediated committee on the issue of division of revenue, where Captain Ale Roba is referred as the Vice Chair. Speaker, under Article 113, I think Kenyans should understand that when we have different sets of amendment to the bill, it is normally referred to the mediation committee. And Mr. Speaker, since this is a mediated version of the bill on food and feed safety control coordination bill of National Assembly number 21 of 2023, Mr. Speaker, the aspect that we are talking about this bill is very critical and very important. Mr. Speaker, when you look at the schedule that was amended and the argument of the National Assembly in the first schedule as passed on the competent authorities, including the Minister of Agriculture, Fisheries, Agriculture and Food Authority, Kenya Dairy Board, Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service, the Pest Control Products, the Fertilizer and Animal Food Staff Board, National Biosafety Authority, Kenya Bureau of Standards and Veterinary Medicine, the argument is that most of these directorates, Mr. Speaker, in this amended or mediated version of the bill, Mr. Speaker, was that it has an international recognized character. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, looking at the agreement or the proposal, Mr. Speaker, between the National Assembly and the Senate on these internationally acclaimed bodies is very critical because they are internationally recognized. But, Mr. Speaker, it should not lost on us that on the issue of agriculture, Mr. Speaker, agriculture is fully devolved. In fact, on the standards and policies of running of agriculture, just like health, Mr. Speaker, the Senate or the county governments must have a bigger role. I agree with the wisdom of the Senate that the counties must and should be given opportunity on the issue on food and feed safety control, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, having looked at because I'll be very brief, the Pest Control Products Board, We need also, Mr. Speaker, because as farmers who come from Wazingishu, Nandi, Nyamira, Kisii, and many others, and Mr. Speaker, I'm happy to see Senator Onyonga, Richard, and we still pass our condolences, Mr. Speaker. But we have duly appointed him as the chair of Men's Conference in the next session of 2027 for showing that you can have as many children as you can, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, and we are proud of what you did and what you are doing for the humanity. It is to the service of the humanity. Yes. So, Mr. Speaker, including Nyamira, Kisii, where Senator Onyong, and across the country, we have a challenge, Mr. Speaker, where the pesticides, which were banned in America, are still being sold. And therefore, when you go to our regions and across the country, there is still a high cases of cancer in this country, Mr. Speaker. And the attribution has been, it is attributed to the pesticides and acaricides that we use in animal and our crops in this country, Mr. Speaker. So when I see the introduction of the Pest Control Products Board in this schedule of the 5th schedule of the amended version on the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill, Mr. Speaker, I hope they will be able to ban so that those substances that have been banned in America should not, because we are seeing there used to be a problem with Lake Victoria, especially in the fishing community, Mr. Speaker, where we used to have an algae or something that was floating and it was stiveling. It is still there, Mr. Speaker, and it is still affecting the quality of the fish, Mr. Speaker. And when you come from Senator Ogola's and Senator Kajuang's area, if you don't eat the fish, Mr. Speaker, you can. So looking at the Fertilizer and Animal Foodstuff Board, we must agree on the National Biosafety Authority. And Mr. Speaker, you remember when we said there were argument of signing biosafety agreement between the US and Kenya, it is included here, Mr. Speaker, because the issue of biosafety is another security threat. You know, we are moving from military hardware to the issue of biosafety, Mr. Speaker. Another issue which I agree with the Senate and the National Assembly on the mediated version on the 5th schedule is the KEBS, Kenya Bureau of Standards, Mr. Speaker, and the Veterinary Medicine Directorate. These are some of the proposed in dealing with the matters of health and culture in the list of competitive authorities, but it should not be lost on us that I want to propose in conclusion that AFA, Kenya Dairy Board, Kenya Plant, Kenya Pest, and others, we should have representation of counties. Because as a Senate, under Article 96, Mr. Speaker, our role is to protect counties and promote their interests, Mr. Speaker. Or even on Agriculture and Food Authority, I am happy now we are creating the Sugar Board. We are creating the Coffee Board, which this House passed, and Senator Wakoli, who is the chair, pushes and ensures that the Sugar Act, Mr. Speaker, is being taken seriously. So, Mr. Speaker, and I want to agree in conclusion, as I comment, that our role as lawmaking house, it should not be lost on us, Mr. Speaker. When I saw justices yesterday at the High Court during the impeachment proceedings of the former Deputy President, Mr. Speaker, the judges and my own lecturer, Justice Mogambe Gitiru, Mr. Speaker, who taught me law of succession, Mr. Speaker, which is the only lecturer I recognize, others are pretenders that they taught me, Mr. Speaker, made a very critical statement that the only law-making body in this country is Parliament, Mr. Speaker. And he said it is only the role of the High Court or the judiciary of this republic, of this country, to only make recommendation and enrich the role of the Parliament in this House, Mr. Speaker. So as a House, it should not lost on us that we are the law-making House and we have the power to do the laws that is coming, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, and I'm aware that on this decision, members of the Senate should be very critical that any decision we make, including passing this mediated version of the bill, passing a statement, passing a motion, we must be very keen, Mr. Speaker, because whatever we do here, through lawmaking process, it will be subjected to a thorough, tooth and comb process in another forum, Mr. Speaker. That is why today, as we speak, a Senate is supposed to pay 50 million, Mr. Speaker, but I'm happy that we are going to appeal that decision of the High Court on the issue of fairness, Mr. Speaker, because if it comes worse to us that 50 million needs to be paid to the impeached Deputy President, Mr. Speaker, I would request Senator Sifuna Edwin Watenya to be the chief guest so that we can raise that 50 million assisted by Senator, my brother, Richard Onyonga, Mr. Speaker. Because even if they were to attach, if you go to the parking of the Senate, we only drive 120, the Prados of 120, which is 2 to 3 million. So you will need to take all the 40 Prados of 120 design to be able to pay impeached Deputy President 50 million that he needs. So, Mr. Speaker, I hope Senator Sifuna, although he's busy with Linda Mwananchi matters, he should avail himself to be the chief guest, and we can use this chamber to raise 50 million Kenyan plus to pay what we have been attached. The point I'm trying to make, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, is that it shows, as a Senate, we must take our work seriously. Because if we become lax, if we don't take our matters seriously, even in our committees, Mr. Speaker, we will be subjected to another process that we will not enjoy as a country. But on this issue, on the food and safety, the public health, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, is also a role of the counties. So when we see the rise of diarrhea and other diseases that affect food, especially food that is sold on the streets, Mr. Speaker, we must be very careful because the danger, somebody told me who is a medic, Mr. Speaker, sir, that on the aspect on food and feed, especially in Nairobi City County and major towns like Kisii, Kapsabet, Eldoret, Homa Bay, Mr. Speaker, I agree, Bungoma, and many other places, Mr. Speaker, our people like street food. In fact, personally, Mr. Speaker, I like eating chapati madondo on the street because they're always fresh, they're always made immediately, unlike where you go to Kempinski or wherever big hotels, Mr. Speaker, their food has been in the fridge. But when you want to eat a fresh fish, you go to Homa Bay town, there is that Odoterenia, Mr. Speaker, and you are able to eat a fresh fish even in Turkana. But when you go to some of these hotels, most of them are stayed in the fridge, and it got food poisoning. So we must agree that on the public health concern by the county governments, under this mediated fashion on the food and feed safety control coordination bill, we must ensure, Mr. Speaker, I was worried when I saw in Garissa, and it is good that the Garissa senator is here, that...
Please, a point of order, Senator for Singish.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I rise on standing order 105, not to interrupt the Senator of Nandi, but to ask really, is he in order to make sweeping statements that fish in Kempinski, Mr. Speaker, kept in the fridge is not fresh? Is the Senator of Nandi not interfering with someone's business without proof that the fish in that hotel, Honorable Speaker, stays in the fridge and it is not fresh?
Senator Fernandez, are you in a position to back those allegations? If not, then withdraw and proceed.
Mr. Speaker, I thought you should, the senator of Wazingishu should know the use of similes, the use of semantics, English semantics. You know, for us who went to school who have produced 2 presidents, you must listen. I say like, I didn't say as. I say like, and I didn't even complete the sentence. So why is he mentioning, I'm mentioning the hotel in mentioning Mr. Speaker? So I think he should listen carefully.
Just conclude your thoughts and abandon that line.
Okay.
Just conclude your thoughts.
I have graciously and religiously abandoned that line. Let me finish, Mr. Speaker, because I was mentioning about the public health, because it's a very critical bill, Mr. Speaker. I saw even in Garissa, the dengue fever patients, Mr. Speaker, are sitting on the floor in an hospital. And I'm happy Senator Haji is in the house. And the governor went and just threw 1,000 to a patient and say Shah is not working here, Mr. Speaker. We must be careful on the issue of public health, Mr. Speaker. We need to be careful so that we are not subjecting people. And I hope the people of Garissa can see the type of the governor they have, Mr. Speaker, because how do you allow in Garissa referral hospital for the patients to be sitting on the floor? You just dismiss, you don't take an accountability, Mr. Speaker. Yet the issue of public health is very important, Mr. Speaker. Even on the issue of the quality of food that we take in hospital. You saw Kenyatta National Hospital, Mr. Speaker. We must subject the public health, which is a devolved function, on the aspect of providing good quality and safe food for our people, Mr. Speaker. So food is very important, but also if food, Mr. Speaker, even as farmers who grow maize, and where Senator of Wasingishu, Senator Mandago comes from, we also must be careful on the issue of ensuring maize is well stored, Mr. Speaker, so that our farmers, our people do not consume maize that has aflatoxins, Mr. Speaker. So, Mr. Speaker, the National Biosafety Authority and the Kenya Bureau of Standards should and must be alert, Mr. Speaker, so that our Kenyans who continue to eat food, who continue to ensure their food is, by the time we saw, Mr. Speaker, and I'm happy the chairperson of, I think Senator Chute then brought a statement on the issue of edible oils. And when we went and inspected the edible oils that was close to 40 billion, we find almost 3/4 of the edible oils, Mr. Speaker, had been spoiled. So I want to appeal that the Kenya Bureau of Standards, the ones that protect and the quality, because, Mr. Speaker, any Kenyan, if you see the mark of KEBS, you always have confidence, Mr. Speaker, that all is well. So I want to believe, Mr. Speaker, that the county assemblies, Mr. Speaker, the county assemblies must assist us by ensuring that the public health within the departments in our county assemblies, while I send my quick recovery notes to an MCA who was attacking Kisii, Mr. Speaker, over his political differences, we wish him quick recovery. The county assemblies, Mr. Speaker, must also take lead to ensure that the rules, the bylaws remain focused so that we can ensure the quality of services we get from the food kiosks, from the big hotels, from the meat we consume, from the maize we consume. It must be subjected to proper testing process. And I want to challenge KEBS, Mr. Speaker, Kenya Bureau of Standards, that we see the mark of KEBS anywhere in this country, Mr. Speaker. It should be a mark of quality. It should be a mark of integrity, and it should ensure that we get proper food or any service that has been given with the mark of KEBS. Mr. Speaker, to allow my colleagues also to give input on this mediated version of the bill, I want to congratulate the committee led by the Senate Whip, who is the chairperson, for the well done job, Mr. Speaker, and also challenge the mediated version where we want 454 billion to counties, against what National Assembly is proposing, 420 billion to counties, in mediated that they should borrow notes from Omwami Wakoli so that they can understand how to negotiate better. We want counties, Mr. Speaker, to get 454 billion. And when that 454 billion, we don't want to see people stealing from counties. You saw Nairobi, one of the staff was found with 65 million in the house, Mr. Speaker, and EACC are sleeping. I know other counties, including Nandi, are worse. But the fact that we fight for the resources to go to counties, Mr. Speaker, sir, it is not a license for people to steal, for people to steal, for people to blunder, for people to commit larceny, for people to loot, for people to rip off, Mr. Speaker. We cannot allow. When I saw 65 million being taken from Shogima House of a senior, Mr. Speaker, I was ashamed that what will Kenyans think of us. Mr. Speaker, EACC must be taken to task, Mr. Speaker. The CEO of EACC, if they cannot arrest these people, the last time members of the Senate wanted to arrest the governor of Samburu, Mr. Speaker, although he appeared today, we were led by Senator Sifuna. If EACC cannot arrest the corrupt, we can give that job to Senator Sifuna, because you saw he used 159 when he wanted to arrest the governor, although that matter has been resolved, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we must protect the resources of our counties. We must give accountability and transparency to all the resources we contribute. Mr. Speaker, with that spirited and emotional, Mr. Speaker, comments on this fact, I beg to support the mediated version of this bill and hope as a House we pass within 7 days, His Excellency the President will be able to append the signature and become the law of the Republic of Kenya. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Honorable Senators, before we proceed with the debate, allow me to make the following communication. I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of a visiting delegation of 3 teachers and 63 students from Consolata School in Nairobi County. The delegation is visiting the Senate for an academic exposition. On behalf of the Senate and my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and wish them a fruitful visit. Also wish to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon of a visiting delegation of officers from various county assemblies, institutions, and state departments. The delegation comprises 27 officers who are in the Senate to undertake a training on protocol, etiquette, and events management at the Center for Parliamentary Studies and Training. Honorable Senators, the program has brought together the officers from the following institutions: the County Assembly of Mandera, the County Assembly of Siaya, Malindi Constituency Office, State Department for Blue Economy and Fisheries, State Department for Broadcasting and Telecommunication, State Department for Irrigation, Ministry of Defense, and officers from the Parliamentary Service Commission. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and wish them a fruitful visit. I will call upon the Senator for Nairobi City County to extend a word of welcome to the delegation from Consolata School, and thereafter the Senate Minority Leader to extend a word of welcome to the delegation drawn from various counties and state departments, in that order.
With your indulgence, Speaker, I wanted to request that you change the order of the welcomes so that I can take the contributions to the bill after the leader of my minority is done.
Sure. Minority Leader, you may proceed.
Asante sana Tahiki Speaker kwa kunipa fursa hii kuweza kujiunga na wewe pamoja na maseneta wengine kwa kuwakaribisha wanafunzi kutoka skuli ya Consolata School hapa Nairobi, na vile vile walimu waliokuja nao. Kwanza nataka kusema kwamba karibuni sana, kwa sababu hapa ndio mahali ambapo Senate inapojihusisha sana kwa kufanya kazi yake. Hususan kitu muhimu zaidi ambacho Senate huwa inafanya ni kuona ya kwamba pesa za kwenda kusaidia ama kuleta maendeleo mashinani zinapatikana, na sheria zingine mojawapo katika hiyo. Vile vile nataka kusema ya kwamba niseme wazi kabisa ya kwamba mimi katika hii Consolata hawa waliokuja, wanafunzi waliofika, mimi niko na mtoto wangu wa kike hapo, anaitwa Tiffany Mongo Chimwaga. Nataka kumwambia mtoto wangu ya kwamba ikiwa babako yuko hapa, pia wewe unaweza kuja hapa ukawa seneta kama yeye. Bora ufanye bidii sana. Wengine wanasema dynasty, lakini uongozi ni kama huo. Huyo anayesema dynasty ni yule anajulikana kwa jina la Sifuna, na huyo Sifuna mwenyewe baba yake alikuwa hapa. Kwa hiyo mambo ya dynasty imemlenga yeye. Na kama mtoto wangu Tiffany itakulenga, pia nakutakia kila laheri katika masomo yako na juhudi zako zote, na pia wale wote waliokuja na wewe na walimu wenu, na watakia kila laheri katika usomi wenu. Nataka nyote mfaulu katika maisha yenu. Asanteni sana.
Senator Moses Kajwang, and then Senator Sifuna.
Mr. Speaker, I know my colleagues are wondering why a senator representing a village county would be welcoming students from Consolata School, a school right in the middle of the city. Mr. Speaker, I've been a parent at Consolata School. My son was at Consolata from pre-primary all the way, and Mr. Speaker, about 4 or 5 years ago, I was a chief guest at the school's prize-giving day. Mr. Speaker, I want to encourage the students from Consolata to keep up the good work. Sapienta et grace, I think that's what their motto is. Consolata is a school that teaches strong values. It is a school where the teachers are fully committed. And Mr. Speaker, I want to congratulate, before that we had Father Karoli, then Father Ochieng, Mr. Ongwai Bernard, Mrs. Grace, who have been leading the school. And I want the children to emulate the humility and the patience and the grace of their leadership, teachers, and administration. And Mr. Speaker, I'm extremely proud that whereas other schools have been shut down because the students have become agitated and they want to go home, Consolata School learning is still going on. And I just want to encourage the students and the parents at Consolata School that ultimately you cannot blame the government for everything. You cannot blame the school administration for everything. Our schools will thrive when parents take responsibility. And our parents should not confuse parenthood with education. You can get education in any school, but parenting is the responsibility of us as parents, which cannot be delegated to the teachers, cannot be delegated to the government, and cannot be delegated to the authorities. Consolata, keep shining, a lovely school. If I was able to go back to primary school, I would not go back to Rabai Road Primary School in Jericho, where I went to. I would go to Consolata School. Unfortunately, at that point, I was a poor man, and as you know, poor men have no choices. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Sifuna.
Mr. Speaker, now that everyone is doing it, let me start by declaring that I do not have a student at Consolata. But because I am the senator for Nairobi, all of these kids who are here today are our kids. And as the area senator, I'm responsible for their welfare. I want to take this opportunity to welcome you to the Senate this afternoon, because I will take my remarks on the bill that is before this House. You follow a bit, and then we'll have a conversation out there. If you have any follow-up questions that you can ask for your experience this afternoon in the Senate. Listening to some of the contributions here, Honorable Speaker.
Proceed, Senator Sifuna, proceed. May the senator be heard in silence, please. He's merely welcoming.
You know, she might surprise me and tell me I have a child there that I'm not aware of. So I'm a bit wary of taking that point of information. Honorable Speaker, I know that for the kids and the visitors who have visited us this afternoon, listening to some of the contributions on the floor, you would not even know what we are discussing. Because although we have rules in this Senate about staying relevant to the conversation that is on the floor, people really like to digress. And I'm not going to mention anyone because you've been here and you've heard. What is actually before debate this afternoon is a mediated version of the Feed and Food Safety Control Coordination Bill. Everything else that you have heard has no relevance whatsoever to the conversation, including these unwarranted invitations for me to be a guest of honor at some fundraiser. I'm sure you were as confused as I was about what that has anything to do with food and feed control. So a mediated version of the bill for the benefit of the kids who are here, it basically means that it is legislation that both houses have to pass. First, it can either originate in the National Assembly or in the Senate, and then when it comes to the other house can make amendments. In this particular instance, it actually originated from the National Assembly. And when it came to the Senate, because this particular bill, the purpose of the bill is stated to be to provide for coordination of the public institutions in the control of food and feed safety. We in the Senate felt that the county governments have a role to play in control of food and feed safety. So what we did is we inserted a clause in that particular bill that also defined county governments and county departments as competent authorities to be able to do this job. But that was out of the feeling that we as a Senate, because if you look at Article 96 of the Constitution, our primary responsibility is to take care of the interests of counties and their governments. So because we introduced a new clause
we had to go to what we call mediation, which basically means a committee, a set of senators from this House goes to sit down with a set of members of the National Assembly and discuss and agree which final version of the bill is going to be adopted. And some of the people who are contributing here, you noticed, they were very quick to congratulate the team that we sent from the Senate. But I want you to know, and the House to know, that in fact, at that particular mediation, and this is quite interesting in the context of the other mediations that are happening, there was only one sitting of this mediation committee, and it was to agree that we drop the Senate amendments. So, personally, I would not be quick to congratulate my brother, the senator from Bungoma, Wakoli, because all we did, we sent a group of senators there to agree that the Senate amendment was unnecessary in this bill. So, whereas others will give Senator Wakoli his flowers, I personally will not do that. Because we send the teams from the Senate to put our foot down in these mediations with the National Assembly. And I wish one of these fine days we publish a list of the scores. How many of our Senate amendments actually find favor in the National Assembly? No. There are very few. How are we always the ones expected to back down? In the current mediation, for instance, of the Division of Revenue, it was a promise that was made a long time ago that in the current financial year, actually last financial year, we would add the monies that go to the counties to 450 billion shillings. How is it possible that 2 years down the line, the National Assembly is refusing to agree to that position that was settled between, of course, people don't like me talking about the expired MOU, although I'm the one who wrote it, between UDA and ODM. One of the clauses there would that we would get to 450 in the last financial year. 2 years down the line, why are we fighting with Treasury and the National Assembly on the 450 billion? How is it not possible for a change that the mediated version of the Division of Revenue is also arrived at in one meeting, where they just go and accept the Senate position? So, whereas we are always giving concessions to the National Assembly proposals, we don't get the same courtesy. They don't extend us the same favor because they feel that we as a House do not have the sort of powers that they have. But I am feeling, Honorable Speaker, that we as a Senate should also sometimes put our foot down because there was proper thinking that went into that amendment to involve the county governments and their departments in the control of food safety. If you look at the licensing regime, just to open that kiosk that somebody says they go to eat madondo and chapati, it requires licensing by the county governments. When there is an outbreak of disease here, it is expected that our county governments are the ones to coordinate efforts to ensure that people receive treatment. So I do not agree with the proposal that somehow county governments do not have a role to play in control of food safety. And the members of the committee, led by Senator Wakoli, maybe you will give us context as to why the National Assembly felt that county governments are not competent authorities in terms of the Feed and Food Safety Control Coordination Bill to be able to prevent or to help in the prevention of those issues. So for me, I want to stop there. We want to listen to members of the committee. It's a very brief report. They just dropped the Senate amendment, and we would want to understand why.
Senator Sifuna, would you like to be informed by our intelligent Senator Beatrice?
Because she's insisting, and she's from my political party, and she's a lady, I don't want to appear like I'm not a gentleman. Let's hear what she has to say, Honorable Chair.
She's, Senator Beatrice, you may proceed.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker, and thank you, Senator Sifuna, for allowing me to give this information. And Senator Sifuna, I wanted to give this based on the welcoming remarks you are giving to the Consolata School. Honorable Speaker, this is a school that has very well values that we must celebrate as they visit Parliament today. Senator Sifuna, you need to remind the school, and we need to celebrate their traditions. Honorable Speaker, this is the only school that allowed the children of our late party leader, one Raila Amolo Odinga, when the wife was chased away from the Ministry of Education then, and her children would not be allowed to be admitted into any school. It is only the Consolata School after Dr. Ida Betty Odinga insisted and packed in the principal's office for more than 3 days, no school would take Raila's children in. They were chased away from all schools, and it is only the Consolata School that admitted Rosemary Odinga, that admitted Junior Odinga, and we must celebrate them because they came out as a school that practiced inclusivity, that did not discriminate at any Kenyan. And Honorable Speaker, that is why I had to give that information. And I'm a Catholic too. So keep to those values. We are proud of you. The whole nation is proud of you. And the school will forever remain in the history books of this country. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
Senator Sifuna, now you have the benefit of that information.
Yeah, the students from Consolata will determine the value of that information, but it's helpful to know, because I thought the information she was giving was with regards to the bill or areas to do with the reason why our amendments were dropped. But it's fine.
Senator Sifuna, information is information, and you have been accorded that important information.
Yeah,
Thank you.
I accept and acknowledge. I just want to conclude by saying that whereas the conversation even amongst within the public now is what is going on with our schools. One of the things I learned, Honorable Speaker, I visited a school in Makadara called Our Lady of Mercy. And the things I learned is that we also need to listen to these students. It is very interesting, the perspectives they have about the environment in the schools. When I was there at AWA, as they call themselves, after listening to all the presentations from the teachers about the need for a new house for the principal, a bakery machine, and so on and so forth, those young girls just pulled me to the side and told me, Sifuna, please go to the Senate and tell the Senate that we want our hair to be plaited. And whereas you think that's a small issue, when these events have been happening, increasingly I'm seeing from other schools, those girls saying we want to be allowed to plait our hairs. So when we also get into this debate, let's learn to listen to these young people. They might give you a perspective that you have not seen in order for us to be able to resolve this crisis. I thank you, Honorable Speaker, and allow me to do my duty as a Senator of Nairobi by going to engage those young ladies outside, because there are unique things that the Senator from Homa Bay might not know about our children here in Nairobi. Thank you.
Thank you, and you may invite that Senator Kajwang to also get to learn about the students and the schools in Nairobi. Senator Mungatana.
I want to thank you, Madam Speaker, for giving me the opportunity to also say my opinions on this mediated version of this bill. Madam Speaker, I want to pick it up from where Sifuna left it. If you look, the only amendment that the Senate proposed was, I will read, each county government department dealing with matters relating to agriculture, and 3B, each county department dealing with matters relating to health, that they be included as part and parcel of the food and biosafety control authorities. Madam Speaker, the competent authorities that have been listed there are 11 of them. And if you look at them, they are all from the national government. You'd see the Kenya Bureau of Standards, the Veterinary Medicines Directorate, the Fertilizer and Food and Animal Foodstuffs Board, the Pest Control Products Board, KEFIS, the Kenya Dairy Board, and so on. But the ones that the Senate wanted included was the departments relevant to the counties to be included as competent authorities. And Madam Speaker, this one amendment that we proposed so that we can assert the presence of the Senate was dropped by our mediation team. I would be very interested to hear, and I've tried to engage our chair, the Honorable David Wakoli, but I've not heard his explanations. Madam Speaker, if you look, and I want to give a very practical example. I went to primary school in Mombasa, part of it, and in those years, we used to complete primary school in class 7. And so standard 5, 6, and 7, I did it in boarding school in Tana River in my village school called Arap Moi Primary School, Ngao, which is a very old school that the missionaries started when they came to bring Christianity in that part of the world. Madam Speaker, when we were in the primary school, we would notice a very strange smell of kerosene in the food that we used to consume. And that kerosene was always in the bins. We came to learn later that there were some hidden reasons why kerosene was being put in those bins. Apparently it was to control, let me say, to control the boys. And Madam Speaker, that is food safety right there in my village in Tana River County. So, will the National Biosafety Authority reach Tana River County? Madam Speaker, they are not there. These authorities that have been put, and I want to read them out. The Agriculture and Food Authority, do they have presence in Tana River County? They don't. KEFIS, does it have presence in Tana River County, Madam Speaker? This is the Kenya Plant Health Inspectorate Service. So if we need seed testing, certification, phytosanitary certificates or services, are we able to get them at that level in the county? No. Except in Tana River County now there's Bura irrigation scheme, you can get a small place there. But food safety for all our boarding schools, Madam Speaker, if you are talking about people in the county, they can do inspections in various boarding schools without warning. They can come and check what is happening. But can the Biosafety Authority from Nairobi come all the way to Tana River County to check? They can't. They don't have presence. Madam Speaker, the Fertilizer and Foodstuff Board, the Kenya Bureau of Standards, the Veterinary Medicines Directorate, do they have presence in the county? No. Is agriculture devolved? Yes. Is health devolved? Yes. Public health is in the counties. So are these people, these institutions at the national level, are they able to go down to the county and make sure that what is consumed by our schools in boarding, what is consumed by our villagers is safe? Are those kiosks that are selling things within our villages in Tana River County, Madam Speaker, are they safe? Obviously, these authorities are not there. Is the county government able to do it? Yes, Madam Speaker. Even if it is impromptu, once in a while, they can check in the market to see if safety standards for food is being adhered to. Madam Speaker, I am honestly disappointed that the Senate team we sent for the mediation went and dropped the requirement that our county authorities should be involved in food safety products and checking that those authorities are involved so that we have safety in our food. Madam Speaker, I don't expect KBS to come all the way to Tana River or most of these counties. They will have only presence in Mombasa, and because there's a port there. Otherwise, they will not come to check what kind of standards in food or any other product down at the counties. What was wrong with including the county authorities in this bill? So, Madam Speaker, I feel that we should have put our foot down, and I am persuaded that this wasn't done. If only one meeting took place in this mediation committee, and then everything was unanimously agreed, I've just read the report, then, Madam Speaker, at least we'd have had a divergent opinion on that matter. I don't believe that there is a very good reason why our county authorities should not have been involved. Madam Speaker, looking at the reasoning, the rationale they gave, they said international organization, county authorities are not recognized. Therefore, they should be dropped, and that amendment from the Senate should be dropped. Madam Speaker, these other authorities were there. What was wrong with just adding, for the sake of the safety of the food in our counties? Madam Speaker, I'm not persuaded, as Senator for Tana River, that all these authorities are present in Tana River County and they will ensure food security in my county. I believe that the county authorities should have been invited to be part and parcel of the safety standards maintenance as far as food is concerned. So, Madam Speaker, for me, I do not support this report. I think this report has left me bewildered, and unless, Madam Speaker, we are given a very good reason, I think this was rushed. If people went inside just one meeting, Madam Speaker, and accepted, I think it was rushed and it wasn't proper. And then, Madam Speaker, at the very minimum, they would have said, let all these national bodies have presence in the counties so that we can ensure there is food safety. This was not secured. People just dropped that amendment, and they have come back with this report to say, let us approve it so that it goes to the president for signing. And yet we know that it will not be effective at the county. I will personally vote against this, Madam Speaker, and I think the committee didn't do a good job. They went there for only one day, only one meeting. They didn't have a divergent opinion. They went and dropped the Senate amendment, and they didn't give us a good reason. The rationale that these county authorities are not recognized, it's not holding, because the national authorities would have been there. In addition to that, for the safety of our food, of our people in Tana River County and other counties, in our villages, we should have included county authorities so that they can be able to have checks and balances, or even impromptu checks. I don't expect, Madam Speaker, that this national authority, at the National Biosafety Authority, to come all the way to my village shop to check. They will not. But I know the county authorities can visit at least the top villages, the top towns in the villages, to check if the food we are consuming is safe. They can visit boarding schools and check if the food is proper, but not the National Biosafety Authority, not all these authorities that have been listed here. So, Madam Speaker, for me, I feel this mediated, this version of this bill was rushed, and personally, I have not seen any, good explanation from the report. And Madam Speaker, I oppose this mediated version. Thank you.
Thank you, Senator Mungatana. Senator Kajwang.
Madam Speaker, I also rise to comment on the report of the Agriculture Committee on the mediated version of the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill. Madam Speaker, it must be noted that when this bill came from the National Assembly, having been sponsored by Majority Leader Kimani Ichung'wah in May 2023, it was transmitted to the Senate in March 2024, and the Senate made its decision on it in 2024. The Senate proposed 3 amendments, and the first was an amendment to Clause 22, Clause 25, and an amendment to the first schedule. What was contentious was the amendment to the first schedule, which listed county governments as competent authorities. Madam Speaker, competent authorities under the bill are supposed to support and assist and work with this newly created food safety controller, because the bill creates an office of food safety controller, and so the competent authorities are the ones that are supposed to work with the food safety controller to ensure that the provisions of the bill are implemented and enforced. Madam Speaker, the Senate in its wisdom felt that county governments, because they are already involved in the food safety space, would also be a competent authority. Today, if Mama Onyango wanted to sell fish somewhere in Kayole, there are at least 3 licenses that the county government must provide. It will be the single business permit. Mama Onyango will also have a food handler's certificate issued by the county government. And Mama Onyango's stall must also have a food hygiene license. So county governments are already in that space. And Madam Speaker, I believe that is the wisdom that the Senate had in amending that first schedule and listing county governments as competent authorities. In the wisdom of the mediation committee concluded that Section 16 of the bill already gives detailed functions to county governments in relation to food and feed safety. And Madam Speaker, that is not in dispute. What I find a bit uncomfortable, Madam Speaker, is the framing of the mediated position that says that designating county governments as competent authorities is redundant and structurally inconsistent. It's very strong wording for county governments. And Madam Speaker, the mediated version...
Senator Kajwang, sorry to interfere with you when you're on your feet. Please move to the dispatch box. Your mic is not working very well.
Should I start from the top?
Yes, you should move to the dispatch. Yes.
Do I start from the beginning?
No. Just continue from where you had reached.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, as I was saying, that in the wisdom of the Senate, we felt it was important that we amend the first schedule to make county governments a competent authority. And competent authorities are supposed to help the controller or the food safety controller to implement and to enforce the provisions of the bill. Madam Speaker, whereas I agree that county governments have already been given detailed functions in the bill under Section 16, sometimes the wording of the consensus can be a bit dangerous, because the mediation committee says that designating county governments as competent authorities is redundant and structurally inconsistent. And then it goes ahead and says that county governments lack international recognition and are administratively subordinate to national institutions. Madam Speaker, the wording of that consensus is a bit dangerous. Madam Speaker, we must ask ourselves, what is the role of public participation in mediation? Would we then require, where we have provided a clear role, clear function for county governments, and the other house opposes it and says that that role is redundant, that role is structurally inconsistent, and the other house says that county governments are administratively subordinate to national institutions, shouldn't we consult? Shouldn't we talk to the county governments? Our job is to defend and protect the interests of counties and their governments. Madam Speaker, there is a missing link when it comes to mediation. Sometimes we do things which are just elite consensus. Even right now on the Division of Revenue Bill, where mediation is ongoing, Madam Speaker, I saw the latest report that the National Assembly had offered 5 billion more to go to 425 billion, and the Senate had reduced our numbers by 14 billion so that we are at 440 billion. And sometimes you ask, what is the scientific basis? Is there any algorithm that guides us in mediation, or it's just a consensus among elites? We need to review our standing orders now that it has been a subject of litigation, including yesterday in the High Court. We saw our standing orders being questioned, and ask ourselves, if there's a significant matter that requires mediation between the two houses, is it that the two houses are competent to come up or cobble up deals without calling other parties into the picture? What if today the Senate was to agree that counties should get 420 billion, for example? What implication does it have on the operations of counties? And therefore, Madam Speaker, my only concern is that for us to make that very radical recommendation that county governments are administratively subordinate to national institutions, and some of them are institutions established by statute, and yet county governments are established under the Constitution, it can form a dangerous precedent. How I wish that the mediation committee would have perhaps retreated. And I've seen in cases where we have serious mediation on DORA, sometimes we retreat and call stakeholders in that space and tell them that, this is a situation in mediation, this is what we are proposing, tell us how it's going to affect you. But nonetheless, Madam Speaker, also bills are taking too long. Even though I'm saying that perhaps it should take longer in mediation by doing public participation. This particular bill was sponsored in 2023, and it's a government bill sponsored by the Leader of Majority. It is 3 years. A government bill takes 3 years, Madam Speaker. You can imagine how long it will take for a private member's bill. And so we must also look at some of these timelines to ensure that we fast track the processing of bills. Madam Speaker, whereas I cannot fault the committee, because when we send a mediation committee, when we send our members to mediation, we send our best. And if we send the chair of the Agriculture Committee, we believe that there could be a basis for that climbing down. And I think it must also be noted that two of the Senate amendments, the National Assembly agreed with them. But, Madam Speaker, I hope we could temper the language. We could temper the language by not calling county governments redundant and structurally inconsistent and administratively subordinate to national institutions. And how I wish we would have gotten written submissions from the Council of Governors. And, Madam Speaker, it must be made clear that this House does not represent the interest of governors. It represents the interest of counties and their governments. There's a clear distinction between that and the interest of individual governors. So there could be errant governors out there who are doing all sorts of bad things, saying bad things about the Senate, but this Senate must always stand up and must always advocate the interests of counties and their governments. And so, Madam Speaker, I want to assure the Council of Governors that we will not accept legislation or amendments that make county governments subservient or make county governments appear to be subordinate to national institutions. Madam Speaker, I do support, unlike my colleagues, I do support because I believe a lot of thought was put into this, but also urge that when regulations come, those regulations must clearly allow county governments to continue doing what they need to do. Madam Speaker, part of the rationale behind this bill was to harmonize the food safety space. As I indicated, that Mamonyango selling fish needs at least 3 licenses: the single business permit, the food handler certificate, and then there's another one called the food hygiene license. And Madam Speaker, we must unify these things. We must collapse them so that Mamonyango with one single business permit is able to continue selling a fish by the roadside instead of making compliance expensive and making compliance look like something that you have to have a PhD to achieve. That was the original intention of the bill, and I do hope that you can speedily enact it so that those of us or our people, our parents, our relatives who are in the food handling space can have a much more unified and smooth terrain for operation. Madam Speaker, I support.
Thank you, Senator Ojo. Senator Okenyuri.
Thank you, Madam Speaker, for the opportunity. I also wish to comment on this mediated version report and just say that I support the intention of this bill because the major essence is trying to make it easier for our friends and family who are in the food and feed space, so that it's cheaper for them rather than them having to incur license fees in different categories. It makes it shorter. But then, Madam Speaker, I want to note what Senator Kajwang just mentioned, that when you actually look at the agreed observation, and the wording was so strong that we actually lose the reason why we had our colleagues represent us on that mediation committee, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, counties have a primary role in the issue of food and feed safety, Madam Speaker. So when we agree that unanimously the position of the National Assembly prevails and leave out the role that county governments play, because county governments, Madam Speaker, primarily are the ones who are conducting inspection. We have slaughterhouses that are coming up. We have people opening kiosks that are, preparing food. And county governments are looking at all these vendors who are running these businesses. Madam Speaker, I feel like on that we actually dropped our guard by agreeing that county government, the county departments of health and agriculture are not recognized internationally. That should never have been a reason as to why we drop our position. Probably we should have seen on how best this can be worded so that still the role of counties is captured, because county governments are primary competent authorities, Madam Speaker. So I wish to support the intention of this bill, but express my dissatisfaction that the role of county governments is not well captured in this, and the wording of this report does not show a reconciliatory or mediated version. Madam Speaker, it goes ahead to say that, the rationale why this position was dropped is that county departments of health and agriculture are not recognized internationally, and these departments report to competent authorities. Madam Speaker, I have already expressed my dissatisfaction on the same, but I hope that this bill is going to address so many of those gaps that we have been having, so that we ensure that even our people who are consuming some of this product are consuming safe products, and the ones who are producing are also producing at an affordable cost that is not going to, make it very difficult for them. I thank you, Madam Speaker.
Thank you, Senator Essie. Honorable Senators, I have a communication from the Chair on the visiting delegation of teachers and students from Anessence High School in Uasin Gishu County. Honorable Senators, I would like to acknowledge the presence in the public gallery this afternoon, a visiting delegation of 10 teachers and 77 students from Anessence High School from Uasin Gishu County. The delegation is visiting the Senate for an academic exposition. On behalf of the Senate and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to the delegation and wish them a very fruitful visit. I thank you. And I want to welcome Senator Madago from Uasin Gishu to welcome the delegation.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish to join you and take this opportunity on behalf of my colleagues, the senators, to welcome the teachers and the students of Anessence Secondary School, Madam Speaker. This is a school in Ainapwe constituency, Honorable Speaker, and it's one of our best schools, one of our old schools that has produced luminaries in our county and in our country, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, I wish them a very fruitful, successful trip in their study and in their quest to undertake benchmarking in the Senate. I also want to encourage the students that today you sit in the gallery, you work hard, you are disciplined, make sure you are not among those who intend to ban their schools. You will be one of the senators sitting here, or probably the speaker sitting in where the speaker is sitting today. Thank you very much, Madam Speaker, for that opportunity. Asanteni sana.
Thank you very much. Now, I want to invite Senator Onyonka to take the mic.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. First of all, I want to say thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. I would like to contribute to this very important discussion. Madam Speaker, I have listened carefully the contributions which have been made by my colleague, Honorable Mungatana. I have also listened to Honorable Kajwang raise the same issue. And to be honest with you, Madam Speaker, this is a very weighty matter. This issue is a matter that has been plaguing the country. I remember for the last, it should have been 10 years ago when there was a question about what do we do in terms of standardizing food security. Standardizing food security and treatment of this food vis-a-vis its management. I have not looked at all the detail of the bill. I've looked at the preamble and the discussions which have taken place. Madam Speaker, honestly, we have an issue about our food. Number one, from the harvesting of the food, whether you're looking at the cereals, whether you're looking at the products which are being consumed, whether it's wheat, whether it's sugar. And indeed, the responsibility of the packaging and management of this food is normally by Kenya Bureau of Standards. And yet, Madam Speaker, we've always had challenges with Kenya Bureau of Standards. And many people have always criticized what Kenya Bureau of Standards has done and what have been the challenges involved and how they have handled the food. And Mr. Speaker, you know, severally, we have found that food is brought into the country that has not been inspected. You've had cases where individuals are found to be holding sugar which has come out of the country without any inspection. We know that right now we have several county governments that are actually processing milk and supplying this milk to our primary school children. Some of this milk, we are being told, is coming in as powder, and some of it is actually fake. Nobody responds to these things. We have issues about Kenya's involvement with the GMO sector, genetically modified foods. And yet the Plant Safety Agency and all the other agencies have never come out to actually literally issue statements or even correct or even just talk about what is being done that is right or wrong. And of course, Mr. Speaker, when you come to the goods which are being imported into the country, whether these foods are eggs, whether these foods are sugarcane, whether it is meat, these, I think, this House must take responsibility. And the reason why the chair, who is really my brother and friend, has made his presentation, but I am worried about how we package our food. I grew up as a young child seeing meat being hung out of a wall in a place where you see flies and animals, and that's normal. And yet in this bill and this negotiated, mediated discussion that has come up, I have not seen anywhere where it's being discussed what we are going with the way we handle meat. We are handling our meat through abattoirs. The abattoirs are the places where the meat is being cleaned. If you go to some of them, you will find that even running water doesn't exist. So these are things that I think, Chair of the Department of Agriculture, how I wish that we would have spent more time as the Senate, even some of us who are not in your committee, so that we can actually begin to seriously look at what do we do with our food. And the fear I have is, with the way we are managing our food, we just need to have a calamity like Ebola, which is food-based. And then once you've killed 200,000 people, that's when we'll come and sit and say, let's sit down and discuss what to do with this. Therefore, I would like to say, yes, we understand the challenges. We know what needs to be done. Some of us understand because most of us are from this sector and we have studied most of these things. I think, Mr. Speaker, we now need to look at what role the Senate can perform in terms of packaging of food, in terms of management, treatment of food, in terms of growing the food? Are we using GMO seeds? What are the effects? What is the research? Have we got stakeholders to come and tell us how we are managing this food? Or are we just managing our food industry as a sector where we just need to make money, and where many of us have an interest and we are not interested at all to make sure that our poor people are protected because they are vulnerable? Even some of the imports we are getting, so many people. If you listen and discuss, KEFIS, you look at the AFA, you look at all the agencies, CALRO, these are government agencies that have got a responsibility to make sure that they provide Kenyan members or the Kenyan public the services the Kenyan public deserves. And yet, we constantly fail our country. And finally, Chair, I want to say that I am uncomfortable because most of our food processing plants, abattoirs, are county-based. And yet, if you go to, I can give you, Chair, if you go to where we are actually slaughtering our cows, a place called Suneka and one place in Kisii town, which is called Darajambili, the only person you're going to see is the veterinary officer. How the meat leaves the place. And right now, many of the food is packaged in pickups, thrown in a box system where the thing is put in. Even putting meat into a cooling plant or a cooling vehicle so that it's transported at the highest hygiene standard does not matter. I remember when I was growing up, Chairman, we used to have meat inspectors on the highways. Right now, I don't think there is any of us in this house who can stand up and say whether they know the meat they ate last night was from donkey or zebra or cow. And these are things we have to be concerned about as leadership. With those very, very many remarks, Mr. Speaker, I would like to say that I hope that my team members in this House are actually going to look at this issue seriously and come up with interventions and mitigations that are going to make sure that food consumption and utilization of food services in our country are standardized, so that if somebody comes out of this country and arrives, whether they've come from Europe or whatever, they should at least be sure that our food is sanitized, it's served well, it is clean, and it has no other issues which would injure the health of our people. With those few remarks, I want to say, Madam Speaker, I will support, but I hope that the committee will be able to do much more than you've done so far. Thank you.
Now, honorable senators, before I allow further debate on this motion, allow me to make the following communication. Honorable senators, I have the following communication to make. The communication relates to the judgment of the High Court, Constitutional and Human Rights Division at Nairobi, Constitutional Petition number E565 of 2024, the Honorable His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua and 57 others versus the Speaker of the National Assembly, the National Assembly of Kenya, the Speaker of the Senate of Kenya, and 23 others, delivered yesterday, the 8th of June 2026, and extensively covered in the print and electronic media since then. Honorable senators, it is noted that from the onset that the Speaker of the Senate and the Senate of Kenya were listed as the third and fourth respondents to this petition. To this end, the Senate was represented and participated fully in the conduct of the petition, culminating in the delivery of the judgment yesterday as aforesaid. From listening to the judgment and the media summary of the judgment issued by the court yesterday, 8th of June 2026, it is clear that certain findings and final orders of the court with respect to the conduct by the Senate of the impeachment proceedings with respect to His Excellency Rigathi Gachagua have been faulted in that judgment. Now, honorable senators, following the delivery of the judgment, We have been advised by counsel for the Senate that among the findings of the High Court in the lengthy judgment delivered yesterday include the following finding, and I quote, the right to a fair trial under Article 47 and 50. We find that His Excellency Gachagwa's rights were infringed when the Senate declined to allow an adjournment. The violation constitutes both a vindication of his rights and a recognition of the constitutional infirmity in the process, but does not undo the impeachment itself, given the finality of Article 145(7) and the constitutional absurdity that would arise from dual incumbency. Secondly, in its final orders, we have been advised by the High Court, we have been advised that the High Court has made the following orders, and I quote, a declaratory order is hereby issued that His Excellency Gachagwa's fair trial rights were infringed when the Senate declined to allow an adjournment in the impeachment proceeding despite his absence. The court's award constitutional damages of 50 million to His Excellency Gachagua, payable by the Senate to vindicate the Constitution, restore the dignity of the affected party, and deter future violations. Now, honorable senators, we have instructed our counsel to apply for certified copies of the proceedings and file a notice of appeal immediately. Even as we prepare for the appellate process, it is appropriate that certain matters be put on record to calm a restive public which is concerned about a judgment which portrays the Senate as an institution which, sitting as a quasi-judicial body, failed to grant the former Deputy President a fair hearing. The court falls the Senate as having infringed on the rights of the former Deputy President by declining to allow an adjournment without considering the circumstances and the context in which that determination was made. Although the court cites the Hansard of that day, it does not take due account of the series of events. The impeachment process had proceeded without incident and in the presence of the former Deputy President until the last day when the Senate adjourned for lunch. The National Assembly had concluded, including evidence in chief, cross-examination and re-examination. The former Deputy President and his counsel were made aware that His Excellency Gachagua will take the stand on resumption after lunch. Upon resumption, Senior Counsel Paul Mwite for the former Deputy President first began by informing the Senate that he was not aware of his client's whereabouts, forcing the Senate to temporarily suspend the proceeding to allow Senior Counsel Paul Mwite to establish the whereabouts of his client. Upon resumption, and that is after long wait, counsel stated that he had learned that his client had been taken ill. Notably, counsel did not make any effort, even when requested by the Senate, to provide any evidence to support his claim. However, the court determines that the Senate should nevertheless have allowed the adjournment request. In essence, the High Court is telling this Senate that it had to allow an adjournment request that was not backed by any evidence to support a claim of illness or other reason for the unavailability of the former Deputy President. This finding is even more troubling when the court itself first admitted a belated affidavit of Dr. Gikonyo, submitted 2 years after the impeachment, and then dismissed it as being of no consequence to the proceedings, and wondered why this evidence was not presented in the Senate 2 years ago when the application for an adjournment was being made. The court cites the speeches of some senators on the floor in debate as an acknowledgement by the Senate itself that the former Deputy President was indeed ill, but ignores entirely the speeches of those in debate who contended that to exercise the discretion to allow the adjournment, the Senate, as the impeachment court, had to be satisfied on evidence that the application was meritorious and was not merely a tool to frustrate, delay, or altogether stop the impeachment process. As is well known, the speeches of individual senators in debate on the floor do not constitute decisions or determination by the Senate. Now, honorable senators, the High Court fails to recognize that the Senate did not determine that an adjournment could not be granted. Indeed, the vote on the motion on the request for an adjournment was precisely on whether to grant the adjournment or not. The Senate, as the impeachment court, decided not to grant the adjournment request in these particular circumstances of the day because of the absence of evidence or good cause presented to it. This is standard practice for any judicial or quasi-judicial body. The Senate, like any other judicial or quasi-judicial body, including, for that matter, the High Court itself, only grants adjournment on good reasons. The discretion to grant an adjournment is not automatic. It must be exercised judiciously, balancing the right to a fair trial with the constitutional mandate to avoid unnecessary delays and dispose of cases judiciously. In the matter at hand, it is probably true to say that no court, in the circumstances the Senate found itself in, with an application for an adjournment entirely devoid of any supporting evidence on its merits, would have granted an adjournment. An applicant for an adjournment must provide cogent, credible, and convincing reasons why a trial should not proceed. The court gravely misdirects itself on the import of the rights of an accused person under Article 50 of the Constitution by failing to recognize the right to be present is a right of the accused person and not an obligation. An accused person who, having had the evidence adduced against him and had an opportunity to challenge it in person or by advocate on cross-examination, chooses without a good cause shown to absent himself from further proceedings, whether with the aim of paralyzing proceedings or otherwise, for any other reason, cannot benefit from the provisions of Article 50. No court properly interpreting the Constitution should find that the right to a fair trial has been violated because an accused person has chosen to absent themselves from his trial or any part of it without providing sound reasons or evidence for that course of conduct. For these reasons, a key part of the appeal to be preferred by the Senate will center on this plainly erroneous finding of the High Court. Honorable Senators, having reached the foregoing erroneous finding, the Court then proceeds to issue orders that have recited above, which the Senate will, among other matters of fact and law, also be challenging in the Court of Appeal. The order for constitutional damages of Kenya shillings 50 million to His Excellency Gachagua being predicated on erroneous findings and regulatory orders of the court will similarly be challenged. Honorable Senators, the Senate is first to pledge fidelity to the supremacy of the Constitution and all the inbuilt principles of the rule of law and separation of powers. In similar vein, the Senate will robustly stand in defense of the Constitution from derogation and violation from any quarter, not least the courts of law. The Senate must do this not for its own sake, but because it is the duty of every person and Article 3 of the Constitution to respect, uphold, and defend the Constitution. I thank you. Yes, Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, I want to thank you for your communication. I felt that that is extremely important, what you have set on record, because I went to bed a very worried man last night, Mr. Speaker. As a leader in the House, Mr. Speaker, and more so a servant of the people, I felt that my very authority and fidelity to the rule of law was being challenged. There are many things that citizens can say about Parliament, but Mr. Speaker, you will agree with me that one of the things that this House is most celebrated for is how we conduct impeachment trials in the chambers of this House. Over the years, Mr. Speaker, as I have been a member of this House and those that have been here long enough know that at the conclusion of every impeachment trial, Mr. Speaker, notwithstanding how the impeachment ends, this House has always been commended for how it carries out its duty and it's celebrated for that. I felt, Mr. Speaker, that the judges yesterday night almost swept our work and wanted to throw us under the bus, Mr. Speaker, erroneously so. Mr. Speaker, it need not be lost to those particular judges, like you have correctly cited, Mr. Speaker, that on that particular afternoon when we resumed, this House was ready to present the opportunity to be heard to the client that was before us. Unfortunately, first of all, his advocate, if I recall very well, and I indeed do, Mr. Speaker, told us as a House, to our shock, that as the advocate on record, I can tell you I don't know where my client is. Then after a few minutes, 30 minutes later, Mr. Speaker, and you granted the opportunity that Advocate Paul Mwite goes to search for his client. 30 minutes later, he returned to this House empty-handed, Mr. Speaker, and said, I am now informed that actually my client has been taken ill. This House requested, Mr. Speaker, as any constitutional organ would, Mr. Speaker, for at least some form of evidence to support that. All Mr. Mwite needed to do, Mr. Speaker, was to inform the House that, give me a few minutes, Karen Hospital, where his client is supposed to have been admitted, Mr. Speaker, is barely 20 to 30 minutes from here. If he had physically to go there, or, Mr. Speaker, given the magnitude of the matter that was before us, he could have asked for an email from that particular hospital confirming what was happening. Therefore, to wrongly accuse this House, Mr. Speaker, that we denied Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua an opportunity for fair trial, Mr. Speaker, I felt, Mr. Speaker, that that should not go without challenge. I am happy that you have put it on record, Mr. Speaker, that as a Senate of this Republic, we shall be challenging that finding because we completely disagree with it. We did our work, Mr. Speaker, with utmost good faith, Mr. Speaker. Lastly, on this particular item of fair trial, Mr. Speaker, and maybe I could say this, listening to the judges yesterday, Mr. Speaker, as I have always argued on many occasions, that there is a clear struggle by members of our bench in this country, Mr. Speaker, to understand the procedures of this House. Either they humble themselves and invite an invitation, Mr. Speaker, for a sort of understanding between us as a legislature and them as a judiciary, so that they better understand our procedures, Mr. Speaker, as opposed to them trying to invent and guide us on how we do some of these procedures. I listened actually with utmost shock. One of the judges argued, Mr. Speaker, that it was faulty for us to elect to trial an impeachment by way of committee of the whole, that we were only supposed to do it by a 10-man committee. I could not believe it, Mr. Speaker, that is a judge of the High Court of the Republic. It is my hope, Mr. Speaker, that these obvious errors which I see judges continue to make on the work of Parliament, Mr. Speaker, that between you as a Speaker and the Chief Justice, that one day you shall organize a colloquium where we can educate each other on procedures of both houses, as opposed to one party appearing to guide the other on procedures of the other arm of government and doing it so wrongly. Therefore, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, while I celebrate this, Mr. Speaker, I want to agree that we must enter, Mr. Speaker, a notice of appeal in the quickest time possible, because this cannot remain unchallenged. We did our work in utmost good faith, Mr. Speaker, and McHugh appearance by speaking was not the only way of trial that we could have done on this matter. Remember, there were already affidavits that were before us, sworn by the same individual, Mr. Speaker, informing us of his responses to all the matters that were before us. Therefore, listening to him was just to confirm what his affidavits were telling us. Therefore, it is not fair to say that we never granted him an opportunity to be heard by this House. I thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I agree with that decision. Thank you so much.
Senator Mazayo.
Asante mstahiki Spika. Mstahiki Spika, kwanza nataka kusema ni jambo la kusikitisha kuona ya kwamba katika uamuzi wa wale majaji walioketi watatu waliweza kuona ya kwamba pengine Senate haikumpatia nafasi ya kuweza kujitetea vilivyo kama mshtakiwa. Lakini nataka kusema ya kwamba runinga na kila mahali waliona katika Kenya nzima ya kwamba katika kesi hii tulimpatia nafasi yule aliyekuwa ameshtakiwa, Bwana Gachagua, Mheshimiwa Gachagua, kwa nyakati zote. Hata tukizingatia zaidi ni kwamba ulikuwa wakati mwingi tulimpatia wa asubuhi yote mpaka wakati wa karibu saa 7. Aliongea zaidi ya masaa 6 akiweza kuulizwa maswali ambayo anaongozwa na wakili wake, na wakili si mwingine bali ni wakili maarufu sana na ni wakili ambaye amebobea katika sheria. Ndugu yetu awasinia ambaye ni Paul Mwite aliweza kumpeleka kulinganisha na vile alivyokuwa ameandika taarifa yake, akaileta hapa, na yale yote hiyo ilikuwa katika record. Na jambo la kusikitisha zaidi ni kwamba baada ya kwamba mawakili wote wale waliokuwa nao walipewa nafasi pia kuongezea kuzidi kumweka vizuri bwana Gachagua, na alikuwa yuko sawa kabisa. Asubuhi wote alikuwa yuko sawa, alikuwa anacheka na anajibu maswali kisawa sawa. Bwana Spika, baada ya hapo sasa, kwa sababu ilikuwa katika sheria zetu tunasema ya kwamba ikiwa tutakusikiza wewe kama bunge lote, yani ya committee of the whole house, ikiwa tutaketi chini na kuweza kusikiza, basi kila mtu atawahi kuuliza maswali. Na ilikuwa amemaliza asubuhi yote mpaka saa 7, akapatia watu kama dakika 30 40 kwenda kupumzika tu na kurudi na kuweza kuja kumsikiza yeye. Ilikuwa ni wakati wa bunge la Senate sasa, kwa sababu amemaliza kujitetea, kwa sababu amemaliza kusema alivyotendewa kwamba si haki. Ilikuwa sasa ni wakati wa yeye kuulizwa maswali na bunge la Senate. Jambo la kusikitisha ama jambo la kushangaza ni kwamba alitoweka. Hata wakili wake alisema hajui yule mteja wake yuko wapi, ambalo ni jambo la kushangaza, kwa sababu wakati watu wamepewa nafasi ya kwenda kupumzika pengine kwa lisali moja, ingekuwa na akaondoka na wakili wake kwenda kujadiliana. Tunatarajia mchana ukifika pengine wale maseneta watakuuliza swali hili na hili na hili na hili, wakamtayarisha ili aje. Lakini jambo la kusikitisha ni kwamba walipokwenda huko, dalili zinaonyesha wazi kabisa ni kwamba walimwambia wewe usijaribu kurudi tena, kwa sababu lile bunge la Senate inaonekana wako tayari kukuuliza maswali. Na ni kwamba hakupewa nafasi ya kujitetea na bunge la Senate. Hapo naona kidogo kulikuwa na mushkili wa hiyo uamuzi wao. Kwa hiyo ni umuhimu ikiwa bunge la Senate linaweza kuchukua hatua hiyo kuweza kujitetea vilivyo, tukipewa nafasi watakapokuwa wameenda katika hiyo koti wanaosema, ama wakienda katika koti yote. Lakini koti ya rufaa ya kitengo cha juu ni kwamba bunge la Senate lazima lijitetee. Hakukuwa na uagizo wa kwamba alikuwa ameomba apewe ridhaa ya milioni 50. Kwa hiyo hatuoni hata kwa nini wanaweza kuchaji, ama ilikuwa vipi mpaka wakafika hiyo milioni 50 ya kwamba Senate iweze kulipa katika hiyo kesi iliyokuwa ndani ya koti. Kwa hiyo sisi tunasema hiyo kesi tuko na nafasi nzuri kama bunge la Senate kuweza kujitetea, na hata wananchi wenyewe waliona wazi kabisa kwamba bunge la Senate halikupewa nafasi ya kumuuliza maswali, kwa sababu yeye mwenyewe hakuweko wakati wa mchana. Iliibuka tu baadaye kwamba alikuwa ameenda katika hospitali inayoitwa Karen, na halafu baadaye baada ya miaka 2 daktari wake anaandika ile tunaita affidavit ama maono ya haki akisema kwamba pengine alikuwa ni mgonjwa. Lakini sisi hatukuletewa karatasi yoyote ya kuambiwa kwamba yeye ni mgonjwa. Kwa hiyo kama Senate haikuambiwa yeye ni mgonjwa, itakuwaje Senate iweze kupigwa fine? Kwa hiyo bwana Spika, mimi naona uamuzi uliotolewa na hiyo koti ya hao majaji watatu ulikuwa si wa haki na inafaa utupiliwe mbali katika koti ya juu zaidi. Asante bwana Spika.
Now, honorable senators, this was just a communication, not a source of debate. I will allow maybe 2 or more, but keep it under 3 minutes. Senator Boni.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, I want to speak strongly on your communication because there is an attempt in this country for certain people, irrespective of their status in society or the offices they hold, to belittle the role of institutions Mr. Speaker, if we allow Parliament, and Senate in particular, to be challenged in the manner that the judges did, we will be weakening Parliament, and there might be a deliberate attempt, Mr. Speaker, to ensure that the powers where we sit as a trial chamber that maybe do not please the people who practice in the courts should be removed from the institution of Parliament so that it remains there preserved. Mr. Speaker, I want to agree with you that we must appeal. But Mr. Speaker, I have heard you. I want to request that you consider also factoring in the appeal what Justice, allow me to quote, what Justice Anthony Mrima said himself, without being prompted by the Council of the Senate. Mrima said, it must be emphasized that the Senate is not a mere conveyor belt for matters originating from the National Assembly or any other entity. He went on and added that it is a revered house vested with autonomy and empowered to make decisions by way of resolution, and therefore the Senate retains the discretion to determine whether to accept any motion or petition for further deliberation. He must be reminded that when he was thinking rationally, as I have quoted him, how was he expecting this Senate without any application from Senior Counsel Paul Mwite that his client had fallen ill? How, without evidence, did he expect the Senate with the kind of discretion that he has?
1 minute to conclude.
In conclusion, without that, for us to then agree with them, are they saying if somebody facing charges of robbery with violence flashes and dashes out of court, and his lawyers say, we don't know where he is, we don't know where he's going, then the judge immediately says that we discontinue the proceedings? No, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we have gone to school properly. The purpose of university education is for you to have organized thinking, critical thinking, the capacity, Mr. Speaker, to see the difference between right and wrong. The judges were wrong yesterday on this one. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Kajwang.
Mr. Speaker, in many legal systems, a jury does not have to justify the decision that it has made. A jury does not have to explain itself. And so as a House, we sat as a jury. We should not try to justify the decision that we made, because the decision that we made was in line with the Constitution. Mr. Speaker, I heard some people say yesterday that yesterday was a funeral of the Republic of Kenya, the funeral of the Constitution. I want to tell them yesterday perhaps was the birthday of the Republic of Kenya and the birthday of the Constitution. Because if this matter goes to the Court of Appeal, goes all the way to the Supreme Court, it will help us address some things that have remained outstanding for long. The issue of impeachment processes, the issue of public participation, the issue of Chapter 6. Mr. Speaker, I would be happy if the Court of Appeal or even the Supreme Court could be moved at certain points in time to expand the scope, the limitation on holding of public office on account of violation of Chapter 6 to go beyond persons who have been impeached and to perhaps include persons who have been indicted by the Auditor General and other institutions like the EACC. Mr. Speaker, I fully support your decision to appeal that particular matter. And Mr. Speaker, if there was a problem in terms of raising the 50 million, that is in case you are not successful in appeal, I want to inform the House that the Public Accounts Committee has issued fines of 500,000 shillings to 20 governors. So we'll be able to raise at least 10 million shillings. But, Mr. Speaker, I do hope that we shall not get into it. But, though, Mr. Speaker, a fundamental observation that I saw yesterday in court is that members of this House who sat as jurors, who participated in the process, would go to court and would go to court to defend or to represent positions against the Senate. Mr. Speaker, there needs to be some hygiene. We must decide whether we want to be senators or we want to be litigants out there challenging decisions of the Senate. Mr. Speaker, once you have sat as part of the jury in this House, it would appear to be out of order for you to go out there and say that you agree with the judges, that there was no due process, there was no fairness in the Senate. That is a matter that must be dealt with. And Mr. Speaker, the Constitution is clear on state officers taking up other paid jobs. Those are things we must look at. But, Mr. Speaker, I am happy that the courts made that decision. Let's allow the Court of Appeal to deal with the remaining issues, and let's also accept that no institution is infallible. Let's accept that we can make decisions, and anyone aggrieved can go to court, and anyone aggrieved at the High Court can go to the other levels. But I hope that this then marks the...
Senator Mungatana.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, Paul Mwite was behind me here. I was seated very closely to him when he told us a ridiculous thing that he does not know where his client has gone. And Mr. Speaker, in the same breath, Paul Mwite was telling us he needs time. We gave him time as a Senate to go and look for his client. He came back and said he does not know where his client is. And Paul Mwite is a senior counsel, Mr. Speaker. He used to be chairman of our law society when we were younger and in active practice. So, Mr. Speaker, we found this extremely ridiculous. There is no way that we can reward misbehavior in court proceedings. We cannot reward that, Mr. Speaker. I fully support, Mr. Speaker, that we should file an appeal in proceedings, whether they are quasi-judicial or they are proper judicial. If you choose to run away from those proceedings, you forfeit your rights. You forfeit them by choice. And Mr. Speaker, the videos are all here. We must not create the impressions amongst Kenyans that Mr. Gachagwa's rights were violated. There was no violation. He chose to run away. That's a fact. He ran away, didn't tell his lawyers, didn't tell anybody, and we must tell the truth as it is. He knew that he was coming for cross-examination. When he was saying his case, it was okay. But when he knew that you were going to ask about the family affairs, ask about the violations that were being complained of within the family, he knew, Mr. Speaker, and he ran away. He ran away from this court, Mr. Speaker. He ran away. He should not tell Kenyans, or the court tell us that we didn't give him a chance. He simply disappeared. And the court must be fair to this Senate. This Senate gave him all the opportunities, Mr. Speaker. We must appeal these decisions, and Kenyans must be told the truth. Possibly, Mr. Speaker, these clips must be replayed on KBC or any other channel so that Kenyans can know the truth. The judges were totally wrong on this one, and they must be told on their faces. They were wrong. You cannot, even them, if an accused person runs away from your court, you don't stop proceedings. You proceed because he chose to forfeit his right.
Senator Wambo.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I walked in and my neighbor, the senator for Tana River, was very agitated about some allegations he's making on the floor. The Speaker, I'm here to just put the record straight. What is good for the goose is equally good for the gander. We had an opportunity, the Speaker, to process the impeachment of the former Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, and by a majority vote, the impeachment went through. The courts were given an opportunity to exercise their constitutional duty and mandate to look into the process that this August House and the National Assembly went through and determine whether the process was fair or not fair. The Speaker, when I listen to debate across the country today, and because we don't live in isolation, we live in a society. The courts have made a ruling. They have said, the Speaker, that the constitutional right of the former Deputy President to a fair trial was breached. The Speaker, that's where we are today. There will be opportunity for lawyers from both sides of the argument to appeal. But the Speaker, as a layman, I speak as a layman, I'm not a lawyer, and in one of the forums last night, the Speaker, I made this note, that as a layman, one who is not schooled in law, I fail to understand, I have tried to understand, I fail to understand, the Speaker, how a process that a court declares to have been flawed can produce a legitimate outcome. That is the Speaker, and I think that's going to be a matter for the Court of Appeal if this matter goes there.
Senator Wambua, maybe I assist you. Your colleagues are reacting to a communication that I've made. Are you privy to the contents of that communication? Okay, then react to the communication. We are not reacting to the entire judgment, just my communication.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, this is what I will say about the communication. That, yes, because the Senate was also a party to that matter, Mr. Speaker, we will also appeal the decision.
1 more minute, Honorable Senator.
We will appeal to the Court of Appeal, the Speaker, and that we should, because the right that we have. And if that appeal is upheld, then the Senate will have saved that 50 million Kenya shillings. But the Speaker, even as we do that, and allow me to say this, even as we do that, this must be a constant reminder to us that whatever it is that we do, we are not the final authority. The things that we do today, 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, they will return to us, and a judgment will be passed by other people about our own actions. The Speaker, I submit.
Senator Wambua, just do like what Senator Mtata has done, getting a copy of the communication, because clearly you are not privy to the contents of that communication. Senator Chiranke.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, and thank you for communicating on this live matter, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, yesterday we saw the judgment of the High Court, and I want to agree with the House that we do appeal, because as somebody has said, Mr. Speaker, is jury, in fact, jury in any proceeding are not subjected to be interrogated, Mr. Speaker. 50 million is a lot for the Senate, Mr. Speaker, and we did our part. I am happy, Mr. Speaker, that, and I know we raised in our submission, that the doctrine of separation of powers must be respected at all given time, Mr. Speaker. And I saw the facts. I want to advise my colleagues, is what we call re ipsa loquita. Speaks for itself. And when I saw Lady Justice Mugambi, who taught me, Mr. Speaker, that's why I'm a serious lawyer of serious pedigree, said very well, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, said with a lot of certainty that the Senate operates on doctrine of separation of powers, Mr. Speaker, and the work we do under Article 125 on the work of the committees and the standing order, as per standing order number 78, and under Article 145 of the Constitution of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker, we did our part as a Senate. And we will not allow us to be fined. I don't agree with the entirety of the judgment of the court, High Court, Mr. Speaker. I agree on the part where they agreed with us that the Deputy President was validly impeached as the Deputy President of the Republic of Kenya, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, Mr. Speaker, even let us assume, I was shocked when the court said that Dr. Kigonyo's affidavit did not have a probative value. And then they went ahead and disregarded that. How can we operate as a house when the former impeached Deputy President ran away, literally? Does it mean we needed to stop? He knew we wanted to grill him, Mr. Speaker. He knew. He had the opportunity, Mr. Speaker, under our standing order number 78. You can either appear by person or by the advocate. Senior counsel Muite was seated here. He didn't know where his client was, Mr. Speaker. And we know members of this house, which I am privy to, went and told him, run away, because we were going to fire and grill you and impeach you, Mr. Speaker, for violating the Constitution. And I can name names, Mr. Speaker, like the acting DCP SG was the one advising him to run away, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, we must stand our ground. And the High Court, Mr. Speaker.
Senator Fernandez, you cannot impute improper motive to your colleagues. Kindly withdraw.
Mr. Speaker, I withdraw and I proceed. Mr. Speaker, that is why I'm saying we gave opportunity, Mr. Speaker. And in fact, I was standing order so that Kenyans can understand. Because I saw standing order number 78. You can neither appear...
Senator Wakili Sige.
Mr. Speaker, I want to most sincerely thank you for the communication that you have made this afternoon, and for a very important reason. The facts ought to be made clear, because it's a bit absurd for the judges yesterday to say on the one hand that this house is independent in terms of procedure on how it deals with matters before it. It went ahead to pronounce itself that our standing orders are also constitutional, and further confirmed that indeed we were working within certain constitutional timelines and we are in charge of our program. It does not then make sense again, Mr. Speaker, for the same judges to say that having complied with what they said, our independence, our mandate, our constitutional timelines, that having a client who runs away before the House constitutes an unfair hearing. I'm happy that you've made the communication that we as a House must appeal that decision. And, Mr. Speaker, as has already been submitted by the rest of the senators here, it is absurd for them to say that the client who disappeared, whose lawyer could not even tell where he was not given an opportunity to be heard. And therefore, as a House, having made that decision, I believe that we should be allowed to do it. And Mr. Speaker, granting that adjournment, acting as a quasi-judicial institution, is the discretion of this House. Let's forget for a moment even that we didn't have to comply with the standing orders or the constitutional dictates, which of course we could not. It is the discretion of this House, and therefore we were in our right place and footing to decide as to how to proceed and prosecute the impeachment proceedings that were before this House. And therefore, I fail to understand the basis upon which a grant of damages worth 50 million, which was not asked for by the client again, could be slapped on the house. And despite the fact that we agree in part of the judgment, this particular finding on the fair hearing, Mr. Speaker, cannot stand, and I'm happy that the House will proceed to defend the position that it took. I thank you.
Senator Oburu.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir, for the opportunity. Mr. Speaker, sir, I am equally surprised with the court decision to impose a fine of 50 million shillings on the Senate, when on the other hand, the same court said the Senate was right, and the Senate rightly impeached Gachagua according to the Constitution. We followed the Constitution and we impeached him according to the Constitution. And Mr. Speaker, when we were here, all of us were here, when the lawyer himself told us that he did not know where his client was. Now, if he didn't know, then, Mr. Speaker, how could we know as a Senate? How could we know? We did not know also, Mr. Speaker. So we did not know where he was. Now, whatever was brought later on that he was in hospital was an afterthought. And that afterthought, Mr. Speaker, cannot be used to impose a fine on us when we acted constitutionally, and the court has said so. And they have impeached him. Mr. Speaker, it is a contradiction. To me, it is a contradiction, Mr. Speaker. How could you impeach somebody for having breached the Constitution, and therefore the Senate was right, and on the other hand, Mr. Speaker, you impose a big fine. Mr. Speaker, I urge you to appeal. Mr. Speaker, you do the appeal and ensure that the court, our Senate does not pay this 50 million. Mr. Speaker, where did we get 50 million when we are struggling in our steering committee of Parliament? Yeah, we are struggling to get money even to travel locally. So where would we get 50 million? We are poor. If it was with the Assembly, with the National Assembly, perhaps they would be able to pay. But for us, we are not going to pay, and we are also right not to pay, Mr. Speaker. We are going to appeal. We are lawful. We follow the law. And Mr. Speaker, sir, I hope that this kind of judgments will not continue in our country.
Senator Okiya Omtata.
Yes, Mr. Speaker, sir. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to this important issue. First of all, I also thank the Speaker for having moved this motion to have us discuss this issue. And from where I sit, I think it's an issue that does not call for a knee-jerk reaction. It's an issue that calls for reflection and meditation. Because impeachment is a constitutional process. And in the Constitution, Article 150 deals with the removal of the deputy president. When you look at Article 150, Clause 2, it says the provisions of Articles 144, that's removal on the basis of health, and 145, the impeachment, relating to the removal of the president shall apply with necessary modifications to the removal of the deputy president. Mr. Speaker, sir, I would like us to take lessons from the judgment instead of condemning it. Because when I look at it, and I'm still convinced, even from the day this impeachment came here, that this House was not prepared for the impeachment of a deputy president. I say so because we did not have that law that would modify the impeachment of the president to apply to the deputy president. And that, for me, trying somebody without a law, to me, amounts to a violation of their rights. I don't even find a contradiction in the finding of the court that there was a violation of the rights, given the court's own reasoning, which our speaker aptly captures here, where it says that like when you get somebody has been executed and you determine that the person was wrongfully executed, that may not restore the person back to life. That's the argument I'm seeing the court say here. And this particular quotation that we find that His Excellency Gachagwa's rights were infringed when the Senate declined to allow an adjournment. This violation constitutes both a vindication of his rights and a recognition of the constitutional infirmity in the process. Mr. Speaker, to me, I strongly believe that rules of procedure should benefit an accused person. And given that this gentleman, His Excellency Mr. Gachagua, had requested for an adjournment, this House had the capacity to grant adjournment.
Your time is up, Senator Okiom. Tata. Senator Beatrice Ogola.
I thank you, Honorable Speaker. And Honorable Speaker, I rise to support the communication you have just read this afternoon, that this House must appeal. And Honorable Speaker, even with a lay mind, as Senator, my leader, Senator Wambua stated, that is lay to the law, I accept that, but he has eyes and he has years. And Honorable Speaker, from where I'm seated, I was able to see Senior Counsel Paul Muiti, where he was on that day. A number of you maybe had their backs turned to him. And I listened and watched as Senior Counsel representing the former Deputy President say that he did not know where his client was, Honorable Speaker. So, as a Senate, how would we have known where his client was? Honorable Speaker, even in basic absences in schools by pupils and students that are seated here, when they absent themselves from school and say they went to hostels, the administration always expects them to take their books from hospital where they were treated. And I remember in our long history in schools, we would take those exercises books that as evidence that we were in hostel. So if that can be done in schools and in other institutions, why was it difficult for the representative of the former deputy president to bring evidence to this house that he was unwell, Honorable Speaker? Honorable Speaker, we are paid to sit here by Kenyans. We don't sit here for free. We earn a living from the taxpayers. And even the 50 million that we are expected to use to pay the former deputy president is taxpayers' money. So Kenyans cannot be taxed twice by paying senators listening to the deputy president who yes, I accept.
Senator Beatrice, the Speaker has not granted Senator Cherargei the opportunity to inform you. So you proceed to conclude because your time is running out.
Honorable Speaker, what I'm saying...
Hold your information.
Honorable Speaker, what I'm saying... is that Kenyans cannot be taxed twice to pay for a criminal who ran away from parliament. That we are senators, we are seated here listening to him, we are paid for that work, and then the same Kenyans money would be used to pay him the cost of 50 million. I therefore support your communication, and I end by saying that it was right for the Senate to choose the plenary, because then it was open for everybody. Everybody saw Muite here say.
Thank you, Senator Beatrice Ogola. Senator Wakoli.
Asante Mheshimiwa Spika kwa nafasi hii ili kuchangia kuhusiana na mwelekeo ambao tumepewa kuhusiana na mwelekeo wa koti. Mheshimiwa Spika, tuliona hapa mawakili shupavu, mawakili waliobobea katika kutetea washukiwa sugu. Mheshimiwa Spika, katika historia ya Kenya tumeona mshukiwa sugu ambaye stakabadhi zake zilikuwa hapa, na Wakenya tulikuwa tunabukua vitabu tukiduaa tukishangaa. Mheshimiwa Spika, na ni mara ya kwanza kuona mshukiwa mkuu anatoweka kutoka maeneo ya kesi, na mawakili wake pia wameshangaa. Familia yake haijui mweleze nani. Maafisa wa polisi wanaomlinda wamezama. Mheshimiwa Spika, anashangaa sana. Kenya hii ni nchi ya ajabu sana. Mpaka Senate linashtakiwa, tunachochewa, hata baada ya kumngatua tunaambiwa tumlipe pesa kama dawa ya brufen. Yaani augue polepole. Mheshimiwa Spika, ni jambo la kushangaza sana, na inadhihirika wazi kwamba makosa ya huyu shukiwa sugu yalikuwa makosa makubwa sana. Na mimi naomba Wakenya, stakabadhi ziko wazi. Kando na kudai tu kumpa haki, jumba la Senate, Mheshimiwa Spika, tukubali hizi nakala zilizoletwa hapa bunge na madai na ushahidi tuwape Wakenya basi. Tuwape watali. Na huyu wetu Mheshimiwa Spika, nashangaa sana ati naibu wa namwombea Mheshimiwa Rais afya nzuri. Aliumia sana kuongoza nchi. Na sugu kama huyu Mheshimiwa Spika. Asante sana Mheshimiwa Spika.
Senator Hamida Kibwana.
Bwana Spika, asante kwa kunipa nafasi. Hata mimi na nataka kuunga kuunga mkono mawasiliano ya Bwana Spika. Kusema kweli tunaheshimu maamuzi ya mahakama, lakini hatukubali ya kuwa rais, former rais, deputy president Gachagua hakupewa nafasi na seneti. Kusema kweli tulivumilia sana masaa hapa na tukawa waungwana kuweza kumsikiza, lakini nafikiria aliona atafanya ile inaitwa kipindi, na hiyo kipindi kwa slang wanaita kipindre. Akatufanyia kipindi na ili kutufanya sisi wajinga. Sisi tukakubaliana nayo na mambo yakaisha, lakini leo tunashangaa sisi baada ya kuwa waungwana wavumilivu, haya mambo yanarudi kwetu. Na ile nashangaa Bwana Spika ni kuwa mahakama makuu yenyewe imethibitisha kwa mchakato ule uliofanywa hapa seneti uliidhinishwa na uamuzi wa seneti kumuondoa ofisini na ukawa wa halali. Sasa je, itakuwaje tumetupiwa tena sisi ya kuwa tuweze kumlipa sisi fine hali mtu mwenyewe aliweza kufanya mambo yake? Kwa hivyo mimi naunga mkono hiyo mawasiliano na hiyo faini. Nitaweza kusema sisi kusema kweli kama seneti hatufai kulipa sisi fine, manake yeye mwenyewe aliweza kufanya mambo yake, na pia ilikuwa ni aibu kwa mawakili wake wenyewe walishangaa. Na kama vile bwana Senator Cherargei anasema kama kuna watu hapa waliweza kuweza kumadvise, ilikuwa sio advice nzuri ya yeye kufanya vile alifanya. Kwa hivyo Bwana Spika, mimi naunga mkono mawasiliano ya Spika ya kuwa hiyo fine si ya kwetu, na ilithibitishwa kuwa sisi chochote kile kiliendelea seneti ilikuwa ni cha halali. Kwa hivyo itakuwaje ya halali alafu sasa ya haramu sisi tulipe sisi hiyo ya haramu ya 50,000? Tunakataa nayo Bwana Spika, na yangu ni kusema tuendelee mbele, tuweze kuappeal, tuweze kukata rufaa ili hayo mambo yaweze kusikizwa vizuri. Asante Bwana Spika.
Senator Hamida, it is 50 million, not 50,000, and that is correct.
Milioni 50 Bwana Spika, hiyo ni pesa milioni 50, haiwezekani. Asante Bwana Spika.
Now, honorable senators, that brings us to an end to your comments on the communication that came from the Speaker, and we shall, of course, as directed by that communication, undertake the appropriate steps to make sure that we protect the dignity, sanctity, and the authority of this House by preferring an appeal against that particular decision. Nonetheless, we will resume the order paper for today, and before the communication, we were dealing with, I believe, order number 23. Clerk, you could call for the resumption of a debate on the motion under Standing Order 23.
Order number 23, motion consideration of the report of the Mediation Committee on the Food and Feed Safety Control Coordination Bill, National Assembly Bills, number 21 of 2023.
Just hold, Senator Wakoli. The Speaker will guide you shortly. Very well, Senator. I see from my dashboard there are requests to contribute to this motion. I have Senator Mariam, who is not in the chamber, Senator Beatrice Ogola. Okay, you seconded the motion. Very well. Then, Honorable Senators, there being no other member interested in contributing to this motion, I will call upon the mover to reply. Senator Wakoli, don't tempt the Speaker to take action against use of mobile phones.
Our good esteemed Speaker, thank you for your good heart of forgiveness. I hereby seek your indulgence. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to Standing Order 663, I request that I say that I have heard the concerns of honorable members, and I want to agree that county government are an integral part of ensuring that devolution is meeting the expected outcome to our people. This bill, Honorable Speaker, has space, has room to ensure that the aspirations of the bill are met and that county governments continue to play the role that they are supposed to play. Honorable Speaker, this bill will equally transit to the delegation, the team, the committee that deals with the delegated rules, regulations, and laws, Honorable Speaker. And this is where the rubber meets the road, where the fine-tuning of the various aspects of this bill will be done, and thereafter cascaded down to county governments, the way we had at the national level the Public Service Commission, and which inducted and trained the public service boards at the county level to continue doing the professional work. So I want to encourage members that all is not lost, and this is a new practice in this country where various arms of government are coming together to ensure we meet an expected outcome. And therefore, by that doing, the county governments will be roped in, will be invited, and we will
pass one to the provisions of Standing Order 663. Putting of the question is hereby deferred to the next sitting. Now, Honorable Senators, before we move to the next order, I will proceed to rearrange for the convenience of the business of the House today. And the rearrangement of the order for today takes us to order number 30. Clerk, call out order number 30.
Order number 30, motion, report of the Standing Committee on Energy on inquiry into the shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and the potential for their local manufacturing.
Honorable Senators, this is to the Chairperson, Standing Committee on Energy, Senator Kisang, proceed to move the motion.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Energy on inquiry into shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and the potential for the local manufacturing laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 11 June 2025, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, pursuant to its mandate under Standing Order 228 subsection 3 to investigate, inquire into, and report on all matters relating to the mandate, management, activities, administration, and operations of its assigned ministries and departments, the Standing Committee on Energy at its sitting held in October 2023 resolved to initiate an inquiry into the ongoing shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and the visibility of promoting local manufacturing of these devices, Honorable Speaker. This decision followed serious concerns raised by the Public Procurement Regulatory Authority, PPRA, regarding alleged irregularities in the award of Kenya shillings 2.9 billion smart meters tender number 2 MS Alay Bari Limited, which had been recommended by the State Department for Energy, raising questions on transparency, competitiveness, and adherence to the Public Procurement and Disposal Act of 2015. Honorable Speaker, the committee also took note of structural challenges in the metering sector, including the absence of clear standards, regulatory frameworks for smart meters, high borrowing costs for potential local manufacturers, and the proliferation of counterfeit meters in the market, all of which undermine reliability, consumer protection, and the country's broader energy sector reform agenda, Honorable Speaker. Additionally, the committee was concerned about the use of framework agreements under Section 114 of the Public Procurement and Disposal Act, which, if not properly designed, Honorable Speaker, and implemented, may be used in a manner that weakens competitive procurement and reduces transparency in large-scale meter acquisitions, which can lead into corruption, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, in this regard, the inquiry was guided by 4 key issues. 1, to interrogate the procurement process surrounding the award of the smart meter tender to Ave Bari Limited, to assess compliance with the Public Procurement and Disposal Act of 2015. 3, to examine the visibility and viability of promoting local manufacturing of smart energy meters, and this will help in creating employment opportunities for our youth, Honorable Speaker, and also to propose strategic policy measures to reform KPLC procurement systems and strengthen regulatory oversight for transparency, accountability, and efficiency in the energy sector. Honorable Speaker, accordingly, the committee held several sittings with key stakeholders, including the Principal Secretary for Public Works through the Supplies Branch, because they cited a section of the Supplies Branch to give this particular company the tender to supply smart meters, Honorable Speaker, without going through procurement process. And this is an old law of 1952. Kenya Power and Lighting Company, the African Smart Meters Association, and the Kenya Association of Manufacturers, and further received written submissions from Dedan Kimathi University of Technology. Honorable Speaker, the committee further noted a framework agreement was adopted for a tender valued at approximately 2.9 billion, implemented through a call-off orders with units of 9,000 Kenya shillings 9,150 for single-phase meters and 15,890 for three-phase meters, culminating in the supply of over 320,000 meters between October 2023 and February 2024. Honorable Speaker, on the question of local manufacturing, the committee observed that Kenya stands at the strategic point where there is emerging assembly capacity and strong interest from local industry, the absence of comprehensive regulatory framework, and approved technical standards by the Energy and Regulatory Authority, PPRA. So this is where we are saying there are some caps in terms of setting up standards to assist the local manufacturers to manufacture, because it will be of benefit if we use local manufacturers to supply smart meters to Kenya Power. Honorable Speaker, the committee also noted that the high capital cost associated with end-to-end smart meter manufacturing, coupled with elevated borrowing costs, have made it difficult for local firms to compete with imported products, thereby limiting technology transfer, local value addition, and job creation in the energy technology value chain. Honorable Speaker, in view of these findings, the committee also made far-reaching recommendations aimed at restoring integrity in smart meter procurement and catalyzing a viable local manufacturing ecosystem. This includes requiring KPLC to revert smart meter procurement to its internal procurement and supply chain department in strict compliance with the law, and mandating IBRA to establish and publish robust pre-qualification framework for smart meter supplies anchored on quality, technical capacity, and local content. Honorable Speaker, the committee further recommends that KPLC should transition towards a decentralized smart meter acquisition model, allowing customers to procure meters from IBRA-approved suppliers. Honorable Speaker, we are saying when you are putting up a house and you do wiring, you get an electrician who is already certified by KPLC, you should be able to go to any shop, you can go to any hardware. As you buy your other electrical issues, you can also buy a meter. So that, we don't have to get expensive meters from Kenya Power. It takes time. Sometimes, Honorable Speaker, customers wait for ages. When REREC does last mile connectivity in our rural constituencies, Honorable Speaker, they wait even for 6 to 10, even only, Honorable Speaker, before the NHIs, because of lack of meters. So, but if this one is decentralized and liberalized, it will be easy for consumers to buy meters from any shop, Honorable Speaker, so long as the standards have been set and certified by IBRA, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, the committee also further recommends that KPLC should transition, as I had said, to decentralized meter acquisition model, allowing customers to procure meters from IBRA-approved suppliers with installation by licensed technicians and verification by Kenya Power, thereby promoting competition, widening market participation, reducing single buyers risk, and also eventually reduce the cost. Because if there's competition, basically prices will come down. To support local manufacturing and industrial development, the committee proposes that the Ministry of Energy and Petroleum, IBRA, and the National Treasury put in place clear national standards, targeted initiatives, and financing instruments to move the country from meter assembly to full-scale manufacturing in partnership with universities and technical institutions as centers of research, innovation, and skills development. Honorable Speaker, this is, we visited several farms that were doing assembly of smart meters. But you'll realize, Honorable Speaker, these particular companies, they were basically importing almost everything from China, from Europe, and then they just come and assemble. So basically there's no manufacturing that's taking place. They just coming to put these things together and sell. But we are saying we need to support them so that the raw materials, it can be manufactured here in Kenya, they do manufacturing itself, and eventually this will boost the economy, it will reduce prices, it will create a lot of employment for our youth, and then eventually it will spur the economic growth of this country. Honorable Speaker, in conclusion, this report provides a timely roadmap to address the immediate smart meter shortage, correct weaknesses in procurement practice, and lay the foundation for competitive, locally anchored smart metering industry that supports Kenya's energy transition and digital economy. Honorable Speaker, this is very important because, and it's timely, because with the affordable houses that are coming up, Honorable Speaker, we will need so many meters. We need to energize and supply power to very many homes. And this will not be possible if we don't encourage locally manufactured smart meters, Honorable Speaker. And this will also help Kenya Power. They don't have to go to the homes to read the meters. Basically, they'll be able to disconnect automatically from the offices, reconnect automatically when the customers pay, or use also the tokens, where basically you buy just like airtime that we buy from our phones. Honorable Speaker, I beg to move and request my colleague, able Senator Beatrice Okola, to second the motion.
Senator Beatrice Ogola proceeds to second the motion.
Honorable Speaker, I wish to second this motion on the report of the Standing Committee of Energy on the inquiry into the shortage of smart meters, energy meters. Honorable Speaker, all of us in our communities and with the public deal with the issue of shortage of meters. And this shortage, Honorable Speaker, has led to a number of harassment of members of the public. I frequently see a number of small businesses, people running here and there because of this shortage of meters. And one wonders, Honorable Speaker, what happens, because at some other time, it becomes criminal when a number of people are arrested by the KPLC policing unit, once because they have meters that don't belong to them, and one wonders because a number of these people have no knowledge of even how to fix some of these meters or even where they get them from. And so a number of, we have a lot of fraud cases, Honorable Speaker. Just the last other week I was at home and a young man comes running to me that they have been arrested and it is issues involving meters. And Honorable Speaker, a number of recommendations that have been given in this report is a cure to a number of those challenges that I've just referred to. Honorable Speaker, as I second this motion, I want to lay emphasis on what the movers indicated on local manufacturing. Honorable Speaker, in this country we used to have something called Agenda 4, and manufacturing was critical to the Agenda 4 in this republic, coupled with housing that His Excellency the President, Dr. William Samoei Ruto, is moving to another level, and Kenyans, including the doubting Kenyans, can see the houses physically. And soon, Kenyans, if organized properly, will be living in dignity, including a number of job seekers who still may not have enough money to rent houses when they leave colleges. Honorable Speaker, the issue of local manufacturing and industry development has been exhaustively discussed in this report. The only thing that we have to look at, and of course which has been mentioned, is the issue of putting into place clear standards. When we promote local manufacturing, there must be standards that must be met. And then we have also to put incentives that will motivate our people into the manufacturing space. And of course, there's been a mention of financing mechanism. Honorable Speaker, this report addresses the issue of integrity too. Of course, the report deals with the procurement procurement issue that was there. And Honorable Speaker, this was a procurement of a tender to the tune of 2.9 billion. Honorable Speaker, by this committee coming up with this report, they are addressing key issues of transparency, key issues of competitiveness, and the issue of doing due diligence. That is according to the procurement laws. So, Honorable Speaker, I second this report, as I also indicate that EPRA seems to have a very huge mandate in this country. And so we must also find a way of enhancing EPRA, and the EPRA itself has to enhance itself by broadening its strategies so that they are able to reach the old nation. Honorable Speaker, I second.
Senator Kisang, take your seat, or take the nearest seat next to you. Now, Honorable Senators, I now propose the question that the Senate adopts the report of the Standing Committee on Energy on inquiry into the shortage of smart energy meters in Kenya and the potential for their local manufacturing, laid on the table of the Senate on Wednesday, 11th of June, 2025. Now, members, this motion and report is therefore available for debate, and I will call upon Senator Samson Cherargei to make his contributions to the motion.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. I rise to make a comment. You have said rightly on this report on the inquiry of the shortage of smart energy meters and possibility of local manufacturing. While I commend the Vice Chair of Energy and the membership, they have done well on the second question, but they have not given us headway on the first aspect. Because the issue was to give us the aspect of shortage, the legality, and viability, whether there was violation of the law in terms of public procurements processes, Mr. Speaker, sir. So on part 2, I agree with them as a country that we must look at the local manufacturing. And Mr. Speaker, the committee has hesitated to point out that the award of this company called Halle Berry, it's like Halle Berry, of a tender worth 2.9 billion in the supply of smart meters, from the reading of the report and from the interactions of minutes and meetings that has been done by the committee, Mr. Speaker, sir, it looks like this was a direct procurement contrary to the law. Mr. Speaker, this award of 2.9, only the reasoning that the stakeholders appeared before the committee was because Halle Berry, Mr. Speaker, award of 2.9 billion smart tender was because they had it in their warehouse. Mr. Speaker, the reading of Article 227(1) of the Constitution is very clear on public procurement. And it is very clear that is procurement of public goods and services. Article 271, when a state organ or any other public entity contracts for goods and services or services, it shall do so in accordance with the system that is fair, equitable, transparent, competitive, and cost-effective. It does not say when they have availability. Therefore, and in fact, some of us, I would have requested the committee, this is a classic case of corruption. Because the work of awarding of smart meter tenders was done by the ministry through supplies and chains, Mr. Speaker, by Kenya, instead of Kenya Power. It was done by State Department for Energy. And we are aware energy of, Mr. Speaker, you remember there were issues of procurement irregularities, issues of corruption. In fact, this was a clear case of corruption. Because in fact, instead of Kenya Power and Lighting Company doing the award of the tender, it went ahead and used State Department of Energy, Mr. Speaker, to procure, which is a clear violation of the law. Article 227(1) is very clear that it must be transparent, it must be cost effective, it must, and looking at the committee proceedings, Mr. Speaker, the award to Halle Barry, Mr. Speaker, is not very clear. It looks like this was corruption, Mr. Speaker, and even you read at the report when Kenya Power and Lighting Company appeared, they justified that because they wanted to open and decentralize the award of smart meters in the country, be single phase or three phase, Mr. Speaker, they must now allow other people to do it. That is how it is done, Mr. That is how corruption is done. Because if Kenya Power and Lighting Company did not give award, and as per the law, but the State Department of Energy went ahead to give out without any legal recourse, Mr. Speaker, is a clear violation of Article 2271, Mr. Speaker, and even Article and the Public Procurement and Disposal Act as provided by the law. And myself, I want to request the committee through the Vice Chair, although he's technically the Chair, Senator Kisang, to further investigate these 2.9 billion. To me, if it works, quacks, smiles, or crackle, Mr. Speaker, that's a dark, Mr. Speaker. That's a dark for us is corruption, Mr. Speaker. So we must be told these 2.9 billion, and it is important that I want to thank the committee, Mr. Speaker, because they even provided how the various companies that had been given award to supply smart meter, Mr. Speaker, in this report. They have gone ahead and indicated that these are the number of meters that have been given, Mr. Speaker, in their reports. Even when you look at their report, Mr. Speaker, they have highlighted that a number of them, so there is no justification of direct procurement or a direct award of 2.9 billion under the State Department of Energy instead of KPLC as usual award tenders, and that is page 15. When you look at page 15, Mr. Speaker, you can see the summary of 4 farms with tender supply 7,111,740 meters with a contract of 2-year period of single phase, Mr. Speaker, and this amounts to around 7,740 smart meters. Like Smart Meter Technology Limited was given 314,440, Magnet Ventures Limited was given 164,500, Inhimita Africa Company Limited 128,000, Yohashin Group Limited was given 104,800, Mr. Speaker. So the report has gone itself to justify that they were companies that were competitively awarded. But we don't know what is special about Burnley Halley Company Limited, that it was given a tender of 2.9 billion. Mr. Speaker, this does not look right, and while I agree with the recommendations of the committee on the other aspects, they must tell us, you know, Mr. Speaker, corruption, if you don't follow the law, and you are a senior practitioner of the law, you cannot regularize an irregularity without following due rest of the law. Even if State Department of Energy would say today they was cost effective, they didn't lose any money. But the fact that there was an irregular process of acquiring public goods, contrary to Article 2271, Mr. Speaker, some of us would think otherwise. And therefore, I want to appeal to the Senator Kesang, the mover and the vice chair of that committee, to still relook at this aspect of 2.9 billion that was specifically awarded to this company. Yet he had indicated that there were other 4 farm companies that had been indicated. So Speaker, this is a fairly quick report, and then even committee, they have raised a number of procurement processes. I think I have touched on that, Mr. Speaker. Quality and quantity, I agree. But how it started, we don't. I agree there could be quality and quantity issues that was raised in Burnley and Warehouse, but how this thing, the process on how it was awarded, some of us, Mr. Speaker, and you know the issue of Kenya Power. We had a few years ago, there was a scandal of smart meters where there was allegation that smart meters or meters of Kenya Power and Lighting Company and even water companies through non-revenue of collection waters had been tampered with. And you remember a few years, it was you and cry when Kenya Power and Lighting Company, Mr. Speaker, were raising the aspect of doctoring or tampering with the meters of Kenya Power and Lighting, Mr. Speaker, where we're having illegal connection of electricity in some of these places. Mr. Speaker, this has caused a lot of loss. It has caused non-performance in terms of Kenya Power and Lighting. While we say Kenya and Power Lighting has a lot of challenges, Mr. Speaker, I know maybe Bomet is a bit better. I went to a place in Kipsamoite. The Kenya Power brought a transformer. For the last 4 years, they have never replaced or made it functional, Mr. Speaker. So while we appreciate Kenya Power and Lighting have a lot of challenges, you see poles, you see contractors, Mr. Speaker, you see electricity being supplied, but Kenya Power and Lighting do not provide smart meters in time or generators, Mr. Speaker. And of course, the frequent blackouts. I have had a discussion with many businessmen and women in this country, because this issue of smart meters boils down also to the functionality of Kenya and Power Lighting Company. That one of the biggest threats to ease of doing business in Kenya is the frequent blackouts by Kenya and Power and Lighting Company. And Mr. Speaker, you know, in the past, when we used to have what we call electricity rationing, it was because of it is dry season. Because most of our power is generated through hydroelectricity, Mr. Speaker. So but now it is raining, there is El Nino coming on the way, Mr. Speaker. This should not be the reason that there is instability of power in this country. And that is why even a few months ago or a few weeks ago, Mr. Speaker, we were pushing that we need to diversify. We need to bring the issue of solar energy. We need to bring even the issue of nuclear energy. I know there is one that is supposed to be set up in Siaya County, for example, so that we can ensure there is stability. And Mr. Speaker, the cost of electricity is also quite unsustainable. And I want to thank the President through the Ministry of Energy. I saw they stood down an increment of cost of electricity through the Ministry of Energy, and that was impressive. We want to say that will go a long way in terms of domestic and industrial use, so that we don't discourage the usage. So my final comment on this procurement of 2.9 billion smart meters to the specific company, to me, reading this committee, this is a direct procurement contrary to the law, contrary to the Constitution, contrary to Public Procurement Disposal Act, and contrary to Public Finance and Management Act of the Republic of Kenya. On the issue of local manufacturing, I agree. Mr. Speaker, we have Tatu City, we have Konza. Why should we procure, you know, Mr. Speaker, the other day we were arguing that we are even importing pencils and rubbers. These are things, Mr. Speaker, matchsticks, these smart meters, many things. There is Konza cities, Mr. Speaker. And I know the vision of His Excellency the President is quite clear, it's crystal clear. Even as he goes around the world to look for partners, he was in Belgium, today is Norway, Mr. Speaker, in Oslo. I know probably in the coming weeks he's among the only Africanists to attend G20 meeting hosted in France by President Macron to look for partners. And I know the intention of the President is to operationalize CIPes, County Integrated and County Industrial and Aggregation Parks. This will allow the aggregation, the issue of industrialization, the cottage industry, Mr. Speaker. I agree with the committee that we must boost it is embarrassing, Mr. Speaker, to import smart meters into this country. We can do better, Mr. Speaker. In the 90s, although I was still very, very young, if you read the history of this country, there is what we call Nyayo era manufacturing of vehicles. In the 90s, if Kenya had gone ahead and even thought of manufacturing a vehicle called Nyayo, Mr. Speaker, you know, we should be by far being the mega industry hub in Eastern Central Africa, Mr. Speaker. So by the 90s, we were doing Nyayo vehicles, and now we can't even produce smart meters for usage in our electricity. Mr. Speaker, it will continue to hamper even the supply of rural electricity. The last mile connectivity that His Excellency the President, I am happy in Nandi, for example, we got more than 1.3 billion for all Nandi County to supply the last mile connectivity electricity. But every household needs those smart meters so that we don't have cases where Kenya and Power and Lighting they make losses courtesy of non-availability. So, and we have universities, Mr. Speaker. You remember even during the laptop issue, I think Moi University was given the lead to manufacture the laptop issues, Mr. Speaker. Even I wish that Bomet University, where you come from, should be a hub of manufacturing of smart meters, Mr. Speaker. Because Bomet people are technologically advanced. I'm saying with this in mind with the mulot. If you get people who are doing what they are doing in mulot, for example, in Bomet, your county, Mr. Speaker, it looks those people are smart naturally. If they can do their things up there and fix one or two, it is not for us to fix smart meters at Bomet University in your own county. Of course, we have more universities. We have KU. We have the University of Nairobi, Mr. Speaker. So I don't see the need why we should still import smart meters into this country. And even, Mr. Speaker, as we manufacture smart meters, we must tie up with the issue of eco-friendly, the issue of environmental preservation and conservation, so that, and EPRA, Mr. Speaker, they need also to up their game, because in the report, the energy EPRA lacked approved standards for smart meters. So how can they be importing? How do we know that the smart meters meet the standard? If the EPRA, and I know EPRA is facing a lot of challenges, especially after that scandal of fuel issues, fuel adulteration, pricing of fuel, I think EPRA, many Kenyans should know that EPRA goes beyond only regularization of prices. They have an obligation to ensure that they give us standards and also ensure, Mr. Speaker, evaluation and monitoring mechanisms to ensure the quality of meters that is being supplied in the market meets certain threshold. So I don't know, the Senator of Elgeyo Marakwet, the distinguished senator, whether the EPRA committed to ensure that they follow up on those issues, Mr. Speaker, so that we can, and the beauty of manufacturing, Mr. Speaker, as I said, that the issue of KIPES in counties, the president trying to look for partners across the country, is also, apart from stability in supply, they will ensure there is employment opportunities, Mr. Speaker, especially for the young people. You and me agree that there is a population explosion. In the 80s and 70s, there was what we call baby boom in America, Mr. Speaker. I think what we are seeing in Kenya is now what we call baby boom, Mr. Speaker. Even after the family planning, Mr. Speaker, that happened in the early 90s, Kenyans continue to follow the tenets of the book of Genesis, where God says, go ye and fill the world. And I think that is what Kenyans are doing, because I was looking at Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, Mr. Speaker. I saw average in my own county is 4 children by household. When you go to northern Kenya, it's 6 children per household, Mr. Speaker. And of course, because of the nature of the religion of Islamic faith, you can imagine 4, they allowed 4 wives, times 6, that is quite a number. Although in my culture, you and my culture, we don't count the number of children. That is 24 children, Mr. Speaker. And if you divorce and get other 4, you can imagine. So what we are facing is that we are facing an explosion of population, which are the young people. And that is why you see them restless. Most of them are learned. They know what should be done, but they don't get the opportunities. And I think as a nation, we want to thank the president. The issue of Nyota has really gone a long way in the issue of Asla Fund, Mr. Speaker. The issue of gas in Maju. In fact, as Nandi County, we are proud, and I saw somebody chiding us that most of our community where you and come are in Australia. And we don't apologize because we value Kasimaju. And Mr. Speaker, the naysayers who chide some of us, are they aware that the foreign exchange income from our children in Australia, from across the country, is approaching 1 trillion Kenyan shillings? In fact, it has gone ahead, coffee, tea, many things, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, what our children are, so the ones who remain, we must ensure that there is manufacturing potential to absorb our young people. Let us develop our young people, Mr. Speaker, so that we can ensure that we go to process. Mr. Speaker, finally, to my comments, corruption in this country starts through the budget and procurement. That is when corruption is being organized. So if the tendering and procurement process is tampered with, then it is corruption, Mr. Speaker. And therefore, I am happy that the committee has said within 3 months, within 6 months, within 6 months, 3 months, there should be a report on what really happened on this award of 2.9 billion, Mr. Speaker, and the procurement process and tendering within Kenya Power and Lighting in the acquisition of smart meters. At the end of adoption of these reports, Mr. Speaker, the 6 months, the 3 months, Mr. Speaker, we should know that how these aspects of. So I agree with the committee. Let us get report. We don't have an implementation committee, but I hope the Energy Committee can sit and do that follow-up. On the issue of local manufacturing and industry development, Mr. Speaker, in the 12 months, the National Treasury and NITA, and also National NITA. We have now, Mr. Speaker, in conclusion, I know my time is fast spent. We're having now TVETs. I saw one of, I don't know, there is one TVET in your county that is appearing in the national budget that is being budgeted for. Even in Nandi, we have Lesos National Polytechnic, we have Kaiboi. We should transform these TVETs as up of manufacturing, Mr. Speaker. We should use them, Mr. Speaker, so that our young people can learn from there. So, and I hope, Senator Kisang, when you get the feedback report, they should tell us how the National Treasury is integrating with Technical University of Kenya and Technical TVET. I know you have been a member of parliament in CDF and you have built a number of TVET institutions in Marakwet West constituency. You should be able to give us the link and how, now that Mr. Speaker, every constituency, including your constituency, Jepalungu, have 1 or 2 TVET centers. And they have a number of children. Why don't we transform those to be the hub of manufacturing so that we are like China, Mr. Speaker? That is how China has become a powerhouse, through manufacturing, everything, Mr. Speaker. And in conclusion, you know, in China, I like Chinese. When you have 20 shillings, they can do something for you for 20 shillings. When you have 1,000, they can do for 1,000. To Kenya for powerhouse in Africa and the world, we must go to the manufacturing way, Mr. Speaker. With those very many remarks, allow me to say I support this report and hope for faster implementation after the adoption. Mr. Speaker, I yield back.
Honorable Senators, from the dashboard here, I do not have any other member keen on making contributions. I'll call upon Senator Kisang to reply.
Thank you, Honorable Speaker. Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply and want to take this opportunity to thank the members of the committee, because that's a fairly old report, close to a year now, and we went round to the local Mo University through basically the former Rivertex and also the Ngumati University. So this Kenya Power and IBRA needs to come with this standard so that our national polytechnics and also the DVETs, as Senator Jerogea has said, they need to partner and manufacture, because this is, it's not something that we used to do when we were in high school en masse. Honorable Speaker, check, there are several houses that are coming up, and without even meters, they'll not be able to enjoy. Honorable Speaker, there's also a danger here because of, for the last few years, we have not gone into power generation. There is likelihood very soon to be shed loading, because we don't have enough power, because currently, as we stand, it's about 23 or 24 megawatts, Honorable Speaker, and the consumption is very close. So basically, if there is anything small, basically, there'll be power rationing in the country. So we need to encourage both local investors and international investors to come in and generate power so that we can have sufficient power. I'm happy that at least Siaya County have agreed to set up and generate basically power using nuclear in that part of the world, because initially Kilifi had been earmarked to generate power using nuclear power, but there was a lot of misinformation until they resisted. But they'll regret later on in life that they'll have lost an opportunity, because within where the generation of power will be done, there'll be a lot of opportunities, there'll be a lot of work, and then there'll be a lot of development within that area. Honorable Speaker, I beg to reply and request that, understanding of the 66.3, Honorable Speaker, the question, putting of the question be deferred to the next sitting. Thank you, Honorable Speaker.
All right, Honorable Senators, as requested, putting of the question to this motion is hereby deferred to the next session. Honorable Senators, you will note that we have got a number of motions in the order paper, and I will, in the absence of the members who are required to move, defer order 22.
About all these others, a man forming this fiscal deficit, Honorable Speaker, is exactly what you are trying to educate the country on. That we have budget estimates or expenditure estimates that outstrip our revenue projections. And the other fact, Honorable Speaker, is that we have said it here. If we are honest, if we are leaders, If you want to be leaders, not political noisemakers, as some of us want to be seen how intelligent we are out there. If you are a true leader, you should be honest enough to tell the people of Kenya and the world that we are dealing with a wartime economy, as I said here when we were debating these estimates and the fuel economy matters.